Good. No problem. Shekayach. Morning, good morning. How are you? Oh, geweldig, yeah. I had a kidney stone. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. What's your name? Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. A lot of hatzlacha. Good morning. Begegend. Ah, ja. Tired Yid. Ah, ja. A tired Yid. Geschmack ist Stickel. Ich bin geschickt, das ist ein Mi higid lach ke'ere mata. Drosche ist Cham Sofer. Es hat Drosche von Cham Sofer. Zayin Oder Tovkuf Nun Beis. Mi higid lach ke'ere mata. Good morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol b'nei b'dvarav. What? The Flintstone, yeah. You can ask, yeah, Fred. Sir. Even though when it comes to a Flintstone you have to physically hit it, when it comes to a person, usually hitting is very counterproductive. You have to be very, very careful, yeah. Very, very careful, because usually what we find is when people try to bring it out in a tough way, the person gets more defensive and gets more blocked. In order to be able to bring out the depth of a person, we're usually much more successful when we do it through compassion and empathy and understanding. When there is a deep connection already, sometimes, the words can be strong, making sure that the connection is not compromised. And even then, we have to make sure that those words are really reflecting our deepest love. If I'm just using tough words because I'm angry, because I'm not regulated, I'm obsessed, I'm overwhelmed, it's going to usually have the opposite result, because it's going to trigger in the other person that part of them too. Only when I'm in a very deep, empathetic, regulated space will it come out in the words. And then everything will be different. So sometimes the deepest striking is with the greatest softness. So you have to really evaluate the situation, There are sometimes exceptions, perhaps, but we want to make sure that we're responding from a place of deep understanding and awareness, and not impulsive. You understand? Lo impulsivi, nicht impulsiv. When we're responding from an impulsive place, we're not even connecting to the other person. We're just trying to calm down something inside of ourselves. Sometimes what happens with parents is that their children say something or do something. It triggers the mother or the father very deeply. And the reason is because it's bringing up for the mother or the father something that represents danger inside of them. So they're trying to protect the child from the danger that they're feeling because of a wound that they have. And they just want to get rid of it because that's the way they dealt with their danger inside. Now this is a very, very deep thing. It can take sometimes people many, many years to understand this. When Sometimes our child, or anybody, but I'm saying our child because that's the closest relationship, could say something or do something or not do something, whatever it is. And it triggers the parent very deeply. It gets the parent very, very nervous, excited, but not excited with joy. Yeah, they get very, very intense. They get intense about it. And they right away feel the need to stop it, whatever they could do. Something smart that they're going to say, a prize, a punishment, scream, say it nice, but right away avoid and get them out. As though, so if they're on a highway, chas v'shalom, and there's a car coming, that's called a responsible parent. Yeah, you take them away. I'm not talking about if a kid is running away with a knife, but something that they did or they didn't do. And what's really happening is, and this takes a lot of inner awareness, is that the parent really is the child at the moment. The child triggered in the parent something that they felt in their own life was very dangerous. Maybe at 4, maybe at 10, maybe at 2. And their way of dealing with it was to avoid it, to make sure it never happens again. Never feel this way again, because you'll be too much. Never say such things. And my kid is now in the same dangerous place. Oh my God, you're in the way of harm. So of course, as a good parent, I have to do anything. I've learned already 40, 50 years to avoid this feeling. And now you're going there? You're going down that rabbit hole? So we instinctively respond from a place of love, but it's really an infantile, a very undeveloped, very scared place in the parent. The parent is really the child.
That's a good scenario.
And the more a person becomes aware of that, the first thing is they become curious. Wow, what just happened? And suddenly they realize that they are the child. The child actually just did a gift. The child was God's gift to me to help me see what's happening inside of me. We sometimes think that we come to the world to heal our children. Yeah? The more and more we learn about things, it's the other way around. Our children come to heal us. It's like, wow, how much Mesiras Nefesh they have to go into all these places to come heal their parents. Now, this is not taking away responsibility from parents. On the contrary, I can only be a real parent when I know what's my thing and what's my child's thing. So my child has this emotion. Yeah, this is what he's dealing with. Okay, so why are you so scared of it? Well, what's going to happen? This is what they're dealing with. Can you just be present? Can you actually help them process what they're feeling, rather than make them believe that they're not allowed to feel that because that's what you believed? So you understand what I'm saying? So when you respond from a place where you're internally more aware and regulated, you can actually connect to the person much deeper. You're actually connecting to them. You're not avoiding them just in order to avoid something inside of yourself, and you call it connecting. That's the main point we were saying.
So you're saying that we do have a parental manual. We do have a parental manual. The child.
Yeah, in a way, like you can learn a tremendous amount. And nobody gets under the skin of people like children. Your neighbors, your friends, your cousins, your partners, all these people but nobody gets under your skin like your children. Nobody knows how to push your buttons like your children. Nobody knows how to trigger you like your children. And there's a reason for it, because of the deep emotional love and connection. So that's why it's also the greatest opportunity for self-discovery. Huh? If I also get triggered like this, how do you think I know this? You think I have Ruach HaKodesh? You think I heard the Nevuah in Gan Eden this? You think I went to visit Gan Eden last night and I got a Nevuah to tell this to you? This is not intellectual. This has to do with intellectualism like you're a cat. This has nothing to do with intellectual. This is all emotional stuff. That's people are formed emotions. We become intellectuals because we don't deal with our emotions. So intellectualism is another trap. It's just like this, just like education, what you call chinuch could be an escape. Yeah? Intellect is another great escape. It's a great escape. You figure things out, like mathematics. Yeah. It becomes like mathematics, like as though it's a mathematics. You figure it out because if it's a thought, I could control it. Yeah, I can even put it on paper. Emotions, I can't control.
It's a mechanism. It's so beautiful.
It's a tremendous mechanism for detachment. It's a place of safety. It's also a place of smallness, and it's a place where you're completely in control.
It's also a place of
The only problem is it's not life. It's not where life is happening. The mind is a gift. It's an opportunity, not a trap. If it becomes a trap, then the gift becomes a curse. It becomes like a source of detachment. Like things are in the mind, and sometimes people justify it because we're an am chacham v'naven, right? We're called an am chacham v'naven. So if we're an am chacham v'naven, so we have to use our mind. So why are you using your heart? And sometimes you'll have relationships with people who use their heart very deeply, and it drives people crazy. For some people, that's dangerous. For some people, this is a classic example. For some people, they have learned that emotions are dangerous. Because if you feel emotions, a lot of things can come up, including pain or whatever it is. And therefore, their mechanism of survival was, you don't feel emotions. You shut off that switch. You know, if there's a crazy leak in your house, right? The water is coming down from all the ceilings. What do you do? What do they tell you to do? Before you call the plumber's going to take 2 hours. You shut the water. When you shut the water, the sink also doesn't work. The bathroom doesn't work. No water works, right? But there's a crazy leak. So we understand. So sometimes for 6 hours, you got to shut the water. What happens if you don't know how to turn it back on again? There's no water in this house anymore. Not dirty water, not clean water. You understand the nimshal? So some people, the emotions had a lot of leaks, and they were very, very disturbing, and they came from everywhere. And there was a lot of pain and a lot of flooding. So what do? I shut off the water. You shut off the water, but 40 years later, there's still no emotions, or at least very little emotions, or at least frightened emotions. Now this child is feeling emotions. It's crazy. So all these types of things, so we suddenly get upset at the child for feeling that emotion. Right? The child comes home from school, has a very intense emotion, which is usually what happens when kids come home from school, especially if it wasn't the most perfect day, right? They have a very intense emotion, and sometimes parents will do whatever they can to block out that emotion, whatever they can. It didn't happen, it made it, whatever. What happened? What happened was, this is how he survived. This is how he survived literally for years, the father or the mother. So now you're crazy? You're literally running into harm's way. I love you. It's coming out of love. It's not coming out of cruelty. It's coming out of love. But it's coming out of love that's dysregulated. It's coming out of love that I don't even know who I am, who you are. So it's a love that it's called chesed de toyu. In Chassidus it's called chesed of toyu. It's chesed, but it's chaos. It's dysfunctional chesed. I'm trying to love this person. How am I loving them? By teaching them either not to trust their emotions or not to feel their emotions. So it's called chesed of toyu. It's chesed of olam hatayu. It's chaotic. It's not regulated. Chesed of tikkun is different. Chesed of tikkun is integrated. It's regulated. It's but this is a lot of avodah. This is not talking about it is a lot easier than when it happens. Because when you talk about it, it's in the mind. When it happens, now the whole nervous system goes crazy. Well, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. But we don't even realize. But the more we do this work, and the more we're aware of it, the more in a moment of truth, all the training in armies, they train and train and train and train and train and train, but it's all for that moment that's going to happen or may not happen. But the training is not the real thing. The training is that when the moment happens, boom. So you learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. It's all training. It's all exercises, which is amazing. But then there's going to be that moment. Boom, that's the moment. It's like Mordechai told Esther, like all your training, you were in the palace for many years. It was all for this moment. This is the moment. So the same is true in life. There's always that moment. And people don't realize it. Right now, don't drop the ball. This is your moment. This is your moment.
And it always comes to the world of
Huh?
The moment comes to the Tohu.
Usually. Because the Tohu is what's looking for tikkun.
Yeah.
The tikkun is mesukan. Tikkun is fixed. Tohu is looking for tikkun. So it throws its arrows. And all my training was for this moment. But nobody says that because that's what makes it the moment, When war begins, Khalil, in real war, the enemy doesn't announce, by the way, Hamas announced it for 3 years, but you have Jews who, were so arrogant or stupid or whatever, or brainwashed that they ignored it. But usually, Hitler called it blitzkrieg. A blitzkrieg, you don't announce it. You don't announce that war is coming. Hamas knew that the Jews are so brainwashed with their desperation to have peace and their delusions so they could prepare. And instead of taking the warning of all the girls who were watching it, they told them that they're going to be punished if they report again. Whatever, it's another crazy story. But my point is that when war happens, we're usually not prepared. But we are prepared because everything we learn is for this moment. Rega shel emet, they call it, the moment of truth. That's true. Always. Not sometimes. The Mendel Futterfass. I said that if I bring him no? Yeah, that's very true. When the moment happens, we can forget everything we ever learned. And it's not that we forgot it. It's not like somebody went into your computer and erased the information. What happens is your body responds from what it knows to do at a moment of danger. You freeze. You literally freeze. In neuroscience, the concept is our brain has so many different parts, right? So many different layers. And the place of the brain in which you could make strategic decisions, thought out, long-term vision, weigh pros against cons, right? See the milas, the chesroinas. That's called the prefrontal cortex, because it's in the front. It's here, right here. Prefrontal, I mean, not under, inside, and under the skull, but at this section. That's why it's called prefrontal cortex, and it's the last part of the brain that develops. In other words, when the brain starts developing, the stem of the brain, this part, all the way on the bottom begins developing, like the base of the brain, the stem they call it. That's what's known as the amygdala. And biologists call it the reptilian brain. It's basically the same brain like a reptile, an alligator, a lizard, a crocodile, right? They don't show emotions, but they know how to survive. They're very good at survival. They know what an enemy is, they know what a friend is, and they know how to respond, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I once went on a Chalamaya trip a few years ago. We went to a zoo that was completely for alligators and crocodiles, completely, like hundreds and hundreds, and you hold the small ones. So it's quite fascinating. But these real, these big alligators, you know what they look like, right? It was alligators, crocodiles, fascinating. So there was one crocodile that was huge. I don't know. It looked to me like maybe 20 feet. It was huge. And you know you don't want to start up with it. And they sit in one place and they don't budge, literally. But I saw that he had his eye, and one eye was like, it was moving like I don't know. I was watching it, and like every few seconds, or it was as the eye was going up and down. So I asked the person in charge, what is he doing? So he said, around a mile away, there's a female, and he's trying to get her to be attracted to him. So, yes, he's a male, and he has a job at Dafashidach. And it was just unbelievable, you wouldn't even know, but he was busy doing his job. He was busy, he needed his relationship. You got to make a new generation. Erlich of crocodiles. It was just fascinating to see. So I'm saying the reptilian brain is not a small thing. It's responsible for all of survival, and especially when there's danger. When there's danger, small things and big things. You have to go to the bathroom. It's cold outside. You need a sweater. It's hot outside. Take off your jacket. Whatever it is, right? Your temperature is not doing well. You're starving. You didn't eat. You didn't sleep. I mean, all these things and another billions and billions of things in the body. The prefrontal cortex develops last. Literally last. And it only finishes developing in your 20s. That's why decisions you're making at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, sometimes they think they're the smartest in the world, but literally parts of the brain have not yet been fully developed. I mean, the Gemara says in Kiddushin, right, that chinuch is ben chavdalid. It's interesting, the Gemara says that till 24, 25, the Masugi in Kiddushin. Today they know, and this is mamish a recent thing, that till the mid-20s, your brain is not fully developed. Some of us, till 85, our brains are not fully developed. But I'm talking Pashut biologically. It's not your fault. It's the way Hashem made it. And the prefrontal cortex, that's the place where you could make decisions that are not based on instinctive survival, but they're very, very regulated. But when I'm experiencing that danger, the way the body is made, and it's unbelievable, is that the prefrontal goes offline. The amygdala takes over, and it focuses not on understanding and evaluation. There's no time for that. It focuses on what you need to do right now to survive. And that's why you'll feel your muscles become much more powerful. It sends blood into all the muscles because it's a time to fight. You become much more uptight. The adrenaline, the breathing, your breathing changes. Breathing, the rate of breathing, the intensity of breathing, the speed of breathing changes. Because if a tiger just came into the room, starting to think about interesting ideas is not going to help you. It's going to kill you. Right now, the avodah is either you fight or you run, or you freeze, whatever it is. You make yourself dead, or you run, or you're aggressive, right? And that's what the amygdala does. So it's not a time to sit and relax and breathe and close your eyes and meditate and think about life and open yourself up to mystery. Koyachma, chachma. No. Chachma you can leave for later. No, it's not koyachma now. We know exactly what to do. This guy wants to kill you. Now here's the thing. This can happen when your wife makes a comment. When your wife makes a comment, the body goes into that mode. A tiger just came into the kitchen. Yes. Now, no, it's not a tiger. It's an innocent woman. The shviger, you're saying. That's really a tiger. I don't understand that because my shviger is a tzaddik, but I hear you. Oh, a cheetah. A bardalus. Okay. Why is that? Why is a tiger less dangerous? Because cheetahs run faster. Okay, so I'm a cheetah, fine.
Cheetahs actually don't afraid of people.
Cheetahs are very aggressive, that's true. We could do a cheetah, whatever it is.
They're not aggressive for people. You can actually attack them.
This week's parsha is Adam ki yakriv lashem, Adam ki yakriv mikem karban lashem, min ha-behema, min ha-bakar, min ha-tzayin, takrivos karbanchem. So in the Torah Vayikra, the Alter Rebbe says that Adam, it should have said Adam mikem ki yakriv karban lashem. In Hebrew grammar, right, you say a person from among you who's going to be makriv. You don't say a person who's going to be makriv a carbon from among you. So the Alter Rebbe says that that's the whole idea. Adam ki yakriv. When you want to be makriv, mikem carbon lashem. It's from you. Don't think you're going to take an animal, buy an animal, you're makriv. That's just the second step. Adam ki yakriv mikem carbon lashem. And then he said you have to know what type of nefesh habahamis you have. It could be min ha-behema, min ha-bakar, min ha-tzayin. You can have an ox, you can have a sheep, you can have a goat, you can have a bird. A lot of different types of nefesh habahamis. There's different types. Yeah, I guess the crocodile didn't go to the mizbeach. You have to do other things with that. So this is the whole avodas hakarbonis is this. What's the avodas hakarbonis? That there's a behema that just got very, very scared. Right? So now tell the behema, let's think about this. So that's why all these things that we learn, when it comes the moment of truth, it can all go down the drain. Not because you're a hypocrite, and then people feel guilty and ashamed. You're actually not a hypocrite. It's actually the way you survived. If you would have thought out the process, you wouldn't have been here. The way you know it is you're alert, you respond immediately, you're uptight, you're anxious, and you have to run away. You can't be present. You're not allowed to be present now. So that's exactly what happened. So don't shame yourself. So why are we learning then? The answer is, when you learn enough and you internalize it in moments of peace, so it's all that moment. It's almost like training for war. They train, but there's no real danger. There's no real danger. It's simulated danger. It's make-believe danger. It's not real danger. But then there comes the moment of war, and suddenly all the training, when you understand what's happening, so now all the training gives you a map that if you choose, you could follow this map. If you choose to run away from the situation, you could do that too. That's going to be actually much easier because that's what I'm used to. But all the training helps. You have a map now. You have a map, and you could look, and when you have that moment, and you say, wow, wow, my body is completely reacting from a place of absolute fear. However, accept it, breathe into it, embrace it, surrender to this reality, and then ask yourself one question. And what does your divine soul have to say about this? Don't hakmanish kitchainik, divine soul. Here you have a machshefa, whatever the right word is, a tiger, a cheetah, a lioness, was the wills, a bear, a schlang, a giftig schlang, a poisonous snake, whatever you want. And it's not even in words. It's not even in words, actually. It's energy. It's much more than words. Words you cannot. It's not words. It's your whole body is uptight. Do you know what I'm talking about, Nechemia? You don't even know what I'm talking about.
People are afraid of chickens also.
Yeah, people are afraid of chickens. Yeah, chickens. Yeah. Right. And in yeshiva they call them a chicken too. Right? You're a chicken. A chicken, whatever you were called. So all the training could literally go down the drain, and that's so true. So all the learning, what's called psychoeducation, it's all the education about this is that at that moment you can also put on your internal GPS and say, you know what, that highway I've already taken for 50 years and I ended up in a ditch. But maybe there's another highway. All in a split second. It's all in a split second. And that's how you make a conscious choice. Yeah. Viktor Frankl, between stimuli and reaction, there's a split second, a millisecond. And that's where all human freedom lives. That's where Bechira lives. It doesn't live anywhere else. I told somebody yesterday, somebody said, I listened to your classes, so it looks like you believe that there's no free choice. I said, as long as you don't know that you don't have free choice, you will never have free choice. Only when you learn how little choice you have, that's when you start having choice. Bechira is a divine experience. Bechira is the divinity in a person. The Rambam says so in Hilchos Teshuvah Perek Hein ha'adam haya ka'achad mimenu. Bechira is where the person is like Hashem. Bechira is choice. That's the deepest part of a person. And look at the Torah Parshas Emer, the Alter Rebbe says that Bechira is the most divine part of the person. And that's why Hashem doesn't take it away. To take away Bechira means you're giving up on the divinity of people. He's not going to take it away. To be able to have Bechira, you know how much presence you need to have? You know how much awareness you need to have? You're divine. As long as I think I have Bechira, I usually have no Bechira. I'm completely reacting, literally completely reacting. It's like all predictable. It's mamish predictable. You push the domino, the other dominoes have no choice. The domino hit it, it's not going to stand straight, sorry. And the next domino is going to go down, down. There's no choice. That's how dominoes are. The butterfly flapped its wings in China, and there was a hurricane in California, right? It's a Sibo Mesuvav, it's called. Or more contemporary, somebody sneezed in Wuhan, and the United States of America closed down. These are all, it could be a far remote cause, but it ultimately affects it. So how can there really be bechira in a person? Why did I respond this way? Because of this. Why did this happen? Because of this. Why did that? It all goes down. Only when a person actually realizes how little bechira they have, in other words, you're aware, like, wow, look what's happening inside of me. Now you can actually begin to have choice. Learning how little choice we have literally opens up the path to choice. It's counterintuitive, but that's how it is. You could see it. That's when you start having choice. You start seeing, you see what's happening. If not, the body energy takes over and I'm just busy surviving. So that's why it's always that moment of truth. You train and train and train and train, and that's moment of truth where you pause, just pause. And then you literally choose which thoughts take over, what words come out of your mouth, what behaviors come out of your body. And when you do it 60 times, literally a new neural pathway is physically created in your brain, literally. It's like a new highway is paved. You know when they pave a new highway? Imagine I've been driving the same highway, and then suddenly I see there's a new highway. I never knew it before. It was always there, but I never had access to it. I always went down this highway, and it always brought me down into a ditch, and there was always traffic. Like somebody who insists on taking the GW every single day, 5:30 in the afternoon. I mean, good luck. But unless, I don't know, maybe after Tchisa Mesim, the GW is going to clear up. So I go down the same highway, and suddenly there's a new highway. And the highway is actually a nice highway. It's a pretty good highway. After a while, it's there. So now you can just make a choice. It's so much clearer. That's what the avodah is. You become accustomed to a different way of responding because you see different aspects of you. And then you say, well, you know what? Actually, this highway was much geschmacker. It was less scary. It was better. The house became a better, happier place. The marriage, everything is better. Wow. Why am I crazy? Why was I doing this? Because he's saying, why is it? Why do you only get choice when you learn that you don't have choice? The answer is because if I'm just reacting to everything, right? Like when the tiger comes in, I'm just reacting. And I think I have choice. Then what I'm really saying is I'm forced to be this way because I'm actually choosing it. Nebach, like I'm forcing myself to remain stuck in not having a choice because I believe it's a choice. The moment you could say, wow, I'm suffering. Wow, look what just happened. And I didn't even choose this. So now the actual person can say, maybe there's another choice. That's number one. Number two, when I think I have choice, I have crazy shame and guilt. If you have a choice and you know that you did this by choice, you know how much shame there is in that? And that shame also distracts my ability to choose differently because I'm so in shame, I'm so guilty. And I just want to do anything to avoid that shame and guilt. So I go down also crazy highways. But the moment I could say, I really didn't have choices about those reactions. It's how my body responds, and that's what happened. And that's not a choice, and therefore I don't have even shame around that. I don't have to be guilty about that. I didn't make myself. What is my choice? My choice is what happens now, how I respond to that. So that's also another reason why that gives the person the freedom to be able to...
Is it fair to say that if the I is in there, then as long as the I is in there, then the choice is only towards the I. If the I is not in there, then I could actually do my thing. If it's all about me, then it's never going to be.
Of course.
The choice is right.
Of course. When there's a mimer from the Latched, he says somewhere that the Nefesh Bahamas sees the world, sees the world as a mirror. What does this mean? What this means is that when I'm in a survival space, all I can experience is what I need to do to survive. I can't think about you. I can't. All I can think is, how do I survive? If I start thinking about other people, that's the end of me. It's like the guy, two guys were hiking. Two friends were hiking. And they were wearing, I don't know, flops, flip-ons, what are they called? Crocs. And suddenly they see a bear. So one of them pulls out, he had a bag, and he takes out his sneakers, takes off his Crocs, and he puts on his sneakers. His friend says, are you crazy? You think with your sneakers you're going to outrun the bear? He says, no, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. Right? That's my only job now. My job is, we're not friends anymore. I have to outrun you, right? You understand my point? Because it's all I could see is me. So your child said something to you, your wife said something to you, your husband, the exact person is whatever the story in your life is. Your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your brother-in-law, your shutuf, your shachan, your chava, whatever it is. The shviger, the shver, or you, something in you said something to me. Something got very, very, very triggered. I don't feel safe now. Maybe I feel accused and it's bringing up terrible things. As a child I was accused. Maybe I feel lonely. Maybe I feel completely misunderstood. Maybe I feel horribly judged. Maybe my ugliness and shame has been exposed. I am responding in a way that I should be able to feel safe. That's all I can think about. I can't even think about the other person. So here, the child who's 6 years old actually is the parent, and I, who's 52 years old, becomes the child. And my response is completely from me. It's about me. In other words, you're a mirror. All I saw in you was a mirror. I didn't even see you. I just saw me. It's only in the Nefesh HaLekiz where you actually could see through glass, not through a mirror. Or through an open window, you can actually see. I can actually see what you just said, and then I could respond. That's what happens when we're regulated. Or not respond. And that's also a response, but it's a response from a place of connection. But that takes crazy avodah. Graduating from seeing everybody as a mirror to actually seeing the other is a huge shift. It's a quantum shift. It's literally, if I'm walking around life with a mirror, literally everybody is a mirror, just a mirror everywhere. I see you, how am I going to survive you? How am I going to, and my brain is brilliant, so I know with everybody, with you I have to survive this, with you I have to survive this, with you I have to survive this, with you I have to survive this way. The brain is very, very busy, very busy. It's a lot of gymnastics. That's why at night you're so exhausted, and even in the middle of the day you're exhausted. I have to take a nap. I'm sick. I'm tired. I mean, of course, it's exhausting. Of course, it's tremendous pressure. Or the person, I don't have to have a mirror, but I can't just tell myself, so get rid of your mirror. Right? This is really the presence that shows up where the person could be in a place that they know how to provide their own safety. They can calm down the animal. And that's what it means to bring a carbon. They can actually bring up the animal soul to God and relax it and regulate it and then respond in a different way. You understand the answer to your question? So it's when we realize how little choice we have, we actually start having choice. We start saying, well, maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe that was a forced response. And I don't have to feel shame about it. I can actually focus on what's possibly another response. And here the response is not just in words. It's words, actions, thoughts. It's also the emotional response. In other words, this is a very intense emotion. Can I surrender into that this exists? And then go even into a deeper feeling.
That's the key, surrender.
Always. Surrender is very important, because if I don't surrender and I start fighting it, like, good luck. You're fighting the part that is so old in you, it's so ancient in you, and it has worked so hard to keep you alive. Like, it's going to tell you, it's not nice that you're fighting me. I'm your only friend in this world. All your chaverim are sharks. They're all alligators. They're all out to eat you. I'm your only chaver. Yeah, this guy in you, who you hate, the meshuggah in you, who makes you numb, I'm your only friend in this world. You're fighting with me? It's a threat. You don't have another chava in the world. and that's the real truth. You'll talk to her, you'll see. You're a lonely man, you know that. And you know that you cry often that you're lonely. And who's your friend? Me. I was there from day one. Nobody else was there. Nobody understood you. Nobody saw you. Anybody saw you? I'm the only one who saw you. And that's why you have to have rachmanas. You have to have, like, he's actually been your best friend. In his world, he did the best he can. Because let's raise it, if there is a lion in the room, it's exactly what you should do. You shouldn't think. You shouldn't develop vision, long-term vision, pros and cons. What's more, you just shouldn't. Get the blood into the muscles, run and run and run and run and run and run and run, and that's it. So actually, from his perspective, he's doing the right thing. He's not trying to make your life miserable. He's actually trying to make your life safe. It happens to be that he's making your life miserable because he detaches you from your full capacity as a human being. But in his mind, this little behemoth, call him a lizard, a crocodile, whatever, a mouse, a rat, an elephant, depends on your nefesh habahamis. If it's kosher, if it's not kosher, whatever it is, a sheep, a goat, an ox, a bull. Huh? Yeah. Whatever it is, in his mind, he was trying to keep you safe. So you have to give him credit. Credit is due where credit is due. And you can give him shishi. And then make a tzeischem l'shalom. The problem is he's going to come back tomorrow. But when you keep him making a tzeischem l'shalom, at the end he may say, okay, if you have a nicer place for me, fine. And that's the reason why in a moment of truth, everything we learn can just go down the drain. It's not because you're a hypocrite. Here too, don't feel guilty. It's because all the practice doesn't come close to war itself. Once war happens, there's a different set of rules. Right. Part of its mechanism is saying that you'll never change. You're the same loser. Let's just stay safe. Yeah. So when a person says everything went down the drain, I'm a hypocrite, nothing helps, that's a tremendous method of this coping mechanism to keep you small, safe, and in control. Of course, nothing else. Yeah, everything is gone. Yeah, shine.
That's immediately another opportunity.
Always.
I think that's it. If you do get to that stage,
Yeah.
that's again another opportunity.
It's another opportunity. It's another gift. This is it. Wow, this is exactly what it's going to say. And then it's going to answer, by the way. It's going to answer, oh, you went to a shir and you heard those stupid things, yeah? Oh, yeah, okay, you went to a shir, shine, yeah. Oh, so now you're not tzaddik, yeah? Then it starts making fun of you. So now you became a tzaddik, yeah? I know you. Rabbi, you could sell Latched to the whole olam. Ich weiß dir. I know who you are. Don't sell me Latched. Right? It's very, very brilliant. It's extremely brilliant. And don't argue with it. First of all, he's smarter than you. More experienced than you. And second of all, for him it's pikuach nefesh. You have to understand. For him it's pikuach nefesh. He's going to come up with every argument in the world to keep you safe, small, and in control. Every argument in the world. For him it's pikuach nefesh mamash. So you have to almost like, you know what you really, I told somebody the other day, we don't get rid of these things always. What we do is we learn how to build a different type of relationship with them. That's the key. If you think you're going to get rid of this, certain neshamas do, but most don't. You don't get rid of it. You just learn how to develop a different relationship with it. When it comes up, You can almost wave to it and say, hi, Bruchim Abayim, nice to see you again. How have you been? He'll tell you it's a disaster. Life is ala panim. Right? And you gotta, you need a hug. No, I don't trust you. You've been going to crazy places. Okay. If you ever need, I'm here. It's almost developing a relationship with it. It's like having a conversation with it. But it's hard because he's like, don't develop a relationship with me. I am you. And you have to, okay. Yeah, I hear you. Interesting perspective. Wow. Interesting perspective. Oh, perspective, yeah? We became with perspectives. Really, perspectives, yeah? When you were 4 years old, there were no perspectives. I was the one running the show. Who's running the show now?
Suddenly it's conflict becomes a relationship.
Yeah. So it's really, it's not getting rid of it. It's literally learning how to have a different type of relationship with it. The relationship, it's a relationship with the Nefesh Bahamas where instead of it becoming the sole reality that controls everything, you can actually listen to it, you can have compassion, you know exactly what it wants and what it needs. Right? Sometimes you can understand it more, sometimes you can understand it less. And then you could say, but there's a different story. There's a deeper part. It's very hard because none of this has to do with words. I'm using words here because that's how we're communicating. But trust me, when it happens, this has nothing to do with words. It's much deeper than words. It's your nervous system, which means it's the internal body energy that says everything. It's more powerful than any words will ever be. It doesn't say, okay, I want to give you a speech about survival. It's not what it does. Let me explain to you how your system works. It's not what it does. It doesn't explain how system works. It is the system. It has hijacked the entire system, and for a good reason. That is the system. So all of our emotions that are so powerful are coming from that system. It's like a virus that took over your computer, and every screen, there's another pop-up. What are you going to do with it? There's a virus in the back end. You can't do anything. You know when that happens to your computer? Exit. So what happens? When you exit, what happens? Like the frog in Mitzrayim. You X1 and suddenly there's 20 pop-ups. You won the prize already. X that too. As long as you're Xing, you're losing the fight. He wants you to X him. Oh, you touched me? Boom. Anayat Svardeya. You can't even X him. It's almost like, wow, this virus is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And the more I know it, the more I know that the moment I think that the virus is actually b'chira, it's a choice, it's what I want, I'm done. The moment I say, wow, this computer is really, really damaged. Do you think we could bring in an expert to go to a different place? I don't even know. Like it's a very humbling moment. And I don't even know, what do you do when the computers have that? I don't even know. I call somebody, so. Okay, you call somebody. Okay. It's interesting that when Rashi says when the frog came to Mitzrayim, coming to Pesach, so they struck it to kill it, and more frogs came out. So you would think they would stop, no? Like scientifically, you struck a frog and more frogs came out. Shouldn't you stop? They struck it again. So more frogs came out. So they struck it again. And the whole Mitzrayim was filled with frogs. How many times did they strike it? I don't know, 100, 10,000, 20,000, I don't know. But the whole Mitzrayim came from one frog. At some point, why wasn't there a bar seichel, a bar das, to say, Chevra, maybe you stop striking the frog? Could you explain this, anybody? Because this is exactly what we all do. This is exactly what we do. I understand them fully. There's a little frog here. Just kill it. So you strike it. There's more frogs. You don't pause. You hit it harder. I didn't hit it hard enough. You see what you say? You don't say that by hitting it more frogs. I didn't hit it hard enough, so hit it harder. More frogs come out. So now what do you say? Stop. No. Now I'm really going to hit it. B'chol koichai. So you hit it b'chol koichai, and now more frogs come out. So now what do? You would think you would stop now. No, I'm going to show him. What just happened? You see what happened? You're completely not observing the reality. You know what you're observing? You're responding to your own crazy anger and overwhelming anxiety that you can't control the situation. And you're desperately trying to do anything. But it has nothing to do with reality because you're making it much, much worse. So we make fun of Mitzrayim, but this is exactly how people live. V'yesh loymar, that's pshat. When Hashem tells Moshe, Pari has no choice. He has no b'chira. Ani achbid the slave Pare. So all the Rishonim ask, if Pare had no choice, how could you punish him? I don't understand. I put a heart of stone into you, you say no, so why are you punishing Pare? It's so not fair, it's cruel. It's like punishing a lioness for devouring a deer. Who made the lion? What do you want from the lioness? What is she supposed to do? She has choice? Everybody asks this on Chumash. Ani achazek es leif Pare, yeah. Gewaldige kasha. So there's different Perushim, the Rambam and the Ramban, I mean a lot of different commentary. There's a word from the Moirei Nayim, Reb Nachum of Chernobyl, Moirei Nayim, Parshas Boy, I think Parshas Boy over Ada, one of the two. So he says, it's a very deep-tighted, Moirei Nayim is not an easy sefer to learn. But the Moirei Nayim writes like this, it's a very, very hard title, but it's also very long. The way I understood, one of the things he says is that Hashem was telling Moshe, he was explaining to Moshe why the Jews should leave Mitzrayim. Why should they leave Mitzrayim? Moshe said they want to stay. A lot of them want to stay. So Hashem was explaining, let me explain to you what it means to live in Mitzrayim. Pare was a representative of Mitzrayim because he was the king. What it means to be in Mitzrayim is that you actually have no choice. That is what it means to live in Mitzrayim. That is what it means to live there. It means you live in a situation where you actually don't make any real choices. You can't. That's what Mitzrayim is. Mitzrayim is Meitzar Gvul. You're confined in a box, and my whole life is literally responding. All I can do is respond. Pare feels danger, that's how I respond. That's what, so it's a punishment for Pare. That's the definition of Pare. That's the definition of Pare. And you see it in the frog. Literally, you see it in the frog. Every makkah, but pause. Look what you're doing. I can't look at the frog. I'm overwhelmed completely with my own crazy anxiety, and I must respond to it. And the only response is kill the frog, kill the frog, kill the frog. People, mamash, they can't help themselves. Yeah. There's men who have a crazy tempers. They scream in the house. They've been doing it for 40 years. You saw what it did. He has no choice. At a Fabrengen, he'll sit and cry about it. Every day by Shema Keleinu, he asks God, take away my anger. He's actually a nice guy. But that moment, he has no bchira. It's completely PTSD. Completely. He's actually a nice guy. If you find him in a nice moment, he's the sweetest guy in the world. But don't talk to your children about his sweetness, because they were destroyed from his anger. So people like to talk about addicts, addict. This guy's an addict. But I'm not talking about addicts. Addicts, avada. I'm talking about everybody. We're all addicts. You see the frog, stop hitting the frog. It's not what your issue is. Ask yourself, what is going on here? Wow. But they wouldn't. So they hit the frog. Was sagst. And the moment you realize, what am I doing? Look what I'm doing. Creating more mayam, more chaos, more self-destruction. So then you look into it and say, wow, where am I living? What is going on? Why do I feel that I don't have control? And you'll realize that my entire brain is living in Mitzrayim. I'm in Galus Mitzrayim. I'm in Meitzer Gvul, completely vulnerable and insecure, completely frightened from any single moment. And the moment I can realize these reactions, there are lions in the room that come in every few minutes. Every few minutes, lions come into the room. I hear noise, it's a lion. Somebody is crying, it's a lion. Somebody is complaining, it's a lion. Of course, you go crazy, you start screaming. If a lion is in the room, you should all start screaming. I hope you will. Normal people. That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. Huh? Depends. There's Mesiris Nefesh that is real, genuine Mesiris Nefesh. No, it comes from the Yechidish Nefesh. It comes from the depth of from the Chachma of the Nefesh Halikis, which knows what reality is and is ready to surrender all fake reality to that. But like everything, there's pseudo Mesiris Nefesh. There's Mesiris Nefesh, which is Hefkeris, That's a different type of Mesiris Nefesh. That's another survival mechanism.
I was intrigued by one episode I saw from the documentary that crocodiles learn how to use our mysterious nefesh. So, for example, they realize that the people save people when they drown. So what they do, they
Interesting.
They go under the water and show the hands, and they have 5 fingers also.
Wow.
Which appears like a person is drowning. So just to attract another
Wow.
person
Wow.
that try to save somebody else.
Wow.
Serious nefesh. So they learn how to.
This is crocodiles?
Crocodiles, yeah. So they fake drowning so that people can be trapped by it.
Wow.
So that's why I'm asking, mysterious nefesh, where it's coming from? Is it also like a reptilian response to save somebody, or it's actually comes from a much higher place?
And so real mysterious nefesh comes from the deepest place, from the highest place, yeah. So now we come back. You remember, everybody, what we learned last week, last shir about Tzur, right? V'samticha b'nikras hatzur. When Moshe Rabbeinu sees that a nation is completely disconnected, he understands that we have to rewire the connection, but the rewiring has to come from the deepest core, what we call the tzur, the fire in the flintstone that could have never been extinguished because it was never an identity that could be extinguished. And over there was no blemish ever. The fire was never removed and eliminated, even if it was in water for thousands of years. And once you access that fire, you can recreate all the connections. And that's the whole idea of Makam Shabbat Teshuvah, Aim Dem Ein Tzaddik Gmurim Yichaylam Lamed. Yeah, that was the main point. Okay, so let's now continue. We're holding Sivav in the Maimer of Zois Chukas Tavshin Chaf Aleph. In these copies, it's 193. Today's class is dedicated by Dina Dornbush for a speedy and complete recovery and refuah shlema for Freda Bas Sarah Larichis Yamim V'Shanim Toivus Amen Kein Yehi Ratzon. And thank you very, very much. And may indeed Freda Bas Sarah have a complete and speedy recovery. B'chol Evareh V'Gidaya B'toich Chayla Yisrael. And thank you, Dina Dornbush, for your partnership and friendship. And may you also be blessed with all the blessings. Bracha v'atzlacha ad bli dai. B'toich Klal Yisrael. B'toich Kol Yisrael. Amen. Sivav. V'hinei hachiluk ben beis avodas elu avodas tzadikim avodas bali teshuvah k'shvei b'shem b'chinas hazman ho'inyan ha'efresh ben sheishis yimei ha'chol yom ha'Shabbos. The theme was 2 paths in life: the path of the tzaddik, the path of the Baal Teshuvah. Path of the tzaddik doesn't just mean what we call, he's a tzaddik. The path of the tzaddik means the life in which a person lives according to the blueprint of existence, the map of existence, which is Torah, which basically, as he explained, means Hashem Elokecha Eish Eichlo. Elokus essentially is completely beyond reality, what we call reality. Eish, it departs. You need the wick, the keli, to contain it, to ground it. That's what's called Kol HaNikra B'Shmi Vilich Voidi, calling out my name, which brings it down, like when you call somebody and you bring them. You have them turn towards you, which creates brasiv, yitzartiv, afa, sisiv, machshava, dibur, maisa. The 3 worlds of Bria, Yitzir, Asiya, which is the Ein Sof manifesting, like a fire coming down, being grounded by these 3 aspects of machshava, dibur, amais. And as he said, our thoughts create the consciousness of Olam HaBriya, our words create the consciousness of Olam HaYitzira, our actions create the consciousness of Olam HaAsiya. And it's also Avodah, Torah, Gmilas Chasadim, Avodah Machshava, Torah, Dibur, Gmilas Chasadim, Maisa. Eish Oichla, it has to be a fire that consumes, because without bittul, there's never a fire. If there's no surrender, as we spoke about, the fire completely departs. The wick, and especially the oil, completely must be subsumed in the flame. If you're not ready to be subsumed in the flame, don't even try. The only way you can experience delikus is only through surrender. Yeah. Not just get burned, but be consumed. In other words, there's no metzias outside of it. Right? And that's really one of the most pivotal moments in a person's transformation, when they have that ability to surrender and they realize that there's nothing sweeter, truer, deeper, happier than the frequency of true surrender. As long as the oil gets into a fight with the fire, and the oil says, no, it's not going to happen. No problem, the oil remains the oil, the flame remains the flame, but the two never meet. The power of the oil is that it completely allows itself to become flame, and there's a silence there, and a bittul there, and that's the idea of eish eichlu, and that's where the human being completely loses their sense of separateness, and they of course realize that their sense of separateness was never a real need. It was only a need because I thought I'm separate and I need to hold on to it and make that vision, that false vision, survive. And that's torturous. Yeah, because it's literally like you're trying to create every moment something that doesn't exist. And the most torturous thing in the world is trying to give substance to something that has no substance. Good luck. You know what I mean? You have to constantly feed it. It's like an organization or a company that was supposed to close down 600 years ago. and you're just keeping it alive. We don't even know why. You know how much effort you have to put into it? It's like a company that's be'etzem bankrupt and you're just pouring in money into it. People do that. Like the frog, right? This frog, like, you're bankrupt. Like, don't hit the frog. No, but they put in money another month, another loan, and you're just delusional. And then after 20 years, go pay back your interest. So that's exactly what this looks like, what the ego looks like. I invest in even more and more. It's torturous because the money goes nowhere because it doesn't really exist. It's not supposed to live. It's supposed to surrender. That's its whole tachlis. So that's eish eichlu, that's avodas tzaddikim. And the tzaddik lives in this frequency. Hashem alekecha eish eichlu.
Only companies survive, the one that went through this.
So that.
Everybody told them to close long time ago, and they still continue, and that's the only one that makes it.
Oh, so then you have a second path. Somebody who veered off this entire experience, as he explained. And then you have so the fire was not brought down, the fire actually departed. And that's the path, what we call Teshuvah. And that's the whole idea. Now you have to go to the Tzur. Right, the Makom Shabbat Teshuvah, in the place that wasn't a blemish. You got to go beyond my covet. My covet was destroyed. Shmi was destroyed. And over there, it's Hine Makam Iti. It's a place where you surrender Makam and Zman. That's the Pchin of Rabbi Elazar ben Durdai, Yeshkoina Elamai, B'Shah Achas, with Ein Ker. So now he says the difference between these two avodas are also reflected in time. The 6 days of the week and Shabbos. Everything in reality is interconnected. So when you speak about a tzaddik and a Baal Teshuvah, you can talk about it in souls, you can also talk about it in time. And it's fascinating that this whole difference is not just in people. It's also a difference in time. Time, space, and spirit are all one. In Sefer Yetzirah it's called Olam Shana Nefesh, Bahar Sinai Oshan. Olam Shana Nefesh, space, time, and spirit, consciousness. So the difference of tzaddikim and Baal Teshuvah actually is reflected in the fabric of time. Time is a reality. We just look at time as an inevitable, crazy curse. It's like the clock is moving, doesn't ask anybody. But really, time is a dimension of reality. Time has a reality. And therefore, different times are invested with different states of consciousness. Shabbos is not Sunday. Sunday is not Monday, and Monday is not Tuesday. It's different. It says in Zohar, Kol Yom v'Yom Avad Avidite. Every day of creation, something else happened because it's a different consciousness. And therefore, every day of the week is a different avodah. And different spaces as well. Right? Eretz Yisrael is Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara, there's a Mishnah in Maseches Kelim, Esek Kedosh saying. Right? You have Ever Ayarden, you have Chutz La'aretz, you have Ever Ayarden. You have Eretz Yisrael, you have Arim HaMakafas Chayma from Yeshua ben Nun. It's a different status. You have Yerushalayim. Lifnim min HaChayma, Chutz min HaChayma. You take a carbon outside of the Chayma, so it's a different energy, the meat, and it has to be burnt. It's so sensitive, it got affected by energy outside of Yerushalayim. You have to burn the meat. When you went one step, you went in the Chayma, what's the big deal? Nothing happened. There's a virus outside of the walls, there's bacteria, there's infections waiting over there. But those who understand Makayim, yeah, it's a different energy. And then there's the base of Harabayas. He goes through Esther Kedoshus. It's a Mishnah. It's literally 10 levels of consciousness in space. And then you have in Zman, in time. So this whole difference of Tzaddikim and Baal Teshuvah is reflected in time. And it's the difference of the weekdays and Shabbos. What happens in the 6 days of the week? The world emerges from the 10 utterances. And how does it start? As we explained, the Shalosh says, what was the first utterance? The first Vayomer in Chumash is Vayomer Elokim, let there be light. Let there be energy. And that's represented by Eish, fire, which is why the Malacha that said on about Shabbos is Lo Sevaru Eish B'chol Meshvesechem B'yom HaShabbos, as we explained in the beginning of the Mayim. Showinyan Avodas HaTzaddikim. This is the Avodah of the Tzaddikim, which they tune into the flow of creation, from creator to creation. So it's the Eish that transfers the energy, which is connected to light, energy, and it transmits the source into creation through Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, which is Machshava Dibra Ma'isa, Torah Vedic Milas Chasadim, and it's a world that emerges from these 10 utterances. And the first one is fire. Or b'Shabbos hu avodas hatshuvah, Shabbos oisis toshev. It's brought in Kabbalah, first place he brings in 57 Toras Nosen, Lamaran Shapiro. So over there he brings the first source. Shabbos is the letters of Toshev, which means Teshuvah, to return. So l'chayda, what's Shabbos connected to Teshuvah? Shabbos is a day of, Shabbos doesn't seem like a day of Teshuvah. Teshuvah seems more connected to the mundane week. You do Teshuvah, you repent. Shabbos is a day of pleasure, of bliss, of tainug. He says, depends how you define Teshuvah. So Teshuvah zui, b'chinas Teshuvah love, v'loy Teshuvah tata. It says it's also in Tanya, in the Geras HaTeshuvah, there's Teshuvah tata, Teshuvah ilah. It says in Zohar, there's a lower level of Teshuvah, higher level of Teshuvah. The lower level of Teshuvah, that's not connected to Shabbos. That's connected to the days of the week, especially Thursday night, Leil Shishi. The higher level of Teshuvah, Teshuvah ilah, that's Dafka Shabbos. Shabbos oisis toshev. Shabbos is the day of Toshev, Teshuvah. V'kiv and Shavaydas HaTeshuvah b'chinas HaTzur shalamayla b'chinas HaEish l'chein ksiv lo yisavaru eish b'chol moshveiseichem b'yom HaShabbos l'fi sheb'Shabbos ya'avoida b'chinas HaTzur shalamayla b'chinas Eish shu b'chinas HaEil shalamayla mishtalshlos v'einu shayich lo'olamas v'kanal sheb'chinas Eish yiyeru b'chinas Eish n'imshcha dei Torah mitzvos b'chinas brasa v'yitzarti v'asisa aval b'Shabbos shu inyan hashvisim ha'yisavos nimshach b'chinas HaTzur shu er shalamayla me'olamas. The hair's to moide de kinyanim here. HaTorah mitzvos. Torah mitzvos. We explained that the whole idea of Teshuvah is that you go to the tzur, which is higher than the fire, and that's why it couldn't be extinguished. If you have fire, you put water on it, it's gone. Even if you have fire in a coal, so it's deeper, you blow on it, then you reach the fire, but still if you put the coal in the water, it gets extinguished. But when you put the flintstone, over there the fire is not a mitzias. It doesn't have an ego, it doesn't have an identity. It's iron, and therefore it also never gets extinguished. And that's the idea of, that's really what Teshuvah means. Teshuvah means going back to the place where the fire never had an identity of ego, and therefore it could also never be extinguished. So that place, that no b'gam, no blemish in the world, no disassociation in the world, if you want to use our previous languages, every survival mechanism that you created with your brain, every coping mechanism you create, but the bottom line of all of it is that it disconnected you to your full grandeur. That can only exist on layers of a person's consciousness. But there's that nekuda, that space of the tzur, which even if it was in water for 5,000 years, and the water l'chayda should have destroyed every last spark of fire there. Right, so in avodah, a person would mean the person sunk deeper and deeper and deeper. They surrendered every last moment, every last aspect of sanity. Anybody relates to this? The Ruach Shtus took over completely to the point you look in the mirror and you want to know if there's anything left. There doesn't seem to be anything left. And the answer is, if your godliness would have been a yesh, there would be nothing left. But since it's not a metzias, it's ayin. So paradoxically, all the craziness in the world can't touch it because it's ayin. They don't have access to ayin. They only have access to yesh. Klippa only has access to yesh, not to ayin, because that's its only vocabulary. It doesn't have access to that which doesn't have identity. It's Ein Sof. And that's why Klippa doesn't, the Klippa will do everything not to let you go to that place of ayin, because over there it's checkmate. There's nothing left. Can't follow there. It can go boom, more, as long as it has something to latch onto. What does it have? Something. Give me something. Then I can manipulate it, I can exploit it, I can use it, I can do whatever I want with it. That place of ayin, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. My whole mitzias is yesh. So how can my mitzias, which is yesh, touch ayin? It can't. So that's where Klippa stops. That's the fire in the tzur. So all of Teshuvah is going to the tzur, and that's Teshuvah ilah. Teshuvah Ilah is the higher level of Teshuvah. It's going to the place where you were never blemished. Going to the place that you don't need to repair, because in that space, everything was whole. Teshuvah Tata, the lower level of Teshuvah, is what we call in halacha Teshuvah. Remorse, repentance, introspection, which is always the baseline. Saying I'm sorry, apologizing, resolution for the future, regret for the past. Classic halachas of Teshuvah. That's Teshuvah Tata. It's the baseline of Teshuvah. I'm so sorry, I apologize, I feel bad about what I did. I learned my lesson, tomorrow I'm going to do it differently. Teshuvah Ilah is touching the place in you that actually never sinned. Not to take away responsibility. To be able to touch that place where if you would have known about that place, you would have never ended up in this mess. You just never knew about it. You had no access to it. V'samticha b'nikras hatzur. V'haya ba'avar kvaidi. My covet was destroyed, but this is beyond covet. This is beyond the glory, beyond the revelation. So the whole tshuva is going to the tzur. That's Teshuvah Ilah. That's Shabbos. So how is that expressed in Shabbos? Shabbos is shvisa. There's no yehi. The yehi is the way the eish comes out as a metzias. The hisgalus of elikus. That's light. All light means you're transmitting the source that it should be transmitted and experienced and revealed. And physically, that's what's represented by the fire, which on its own is transcendent, but you bring it down. Vayomer Elokim yihi let there be light. Here, light refers to all levels of light, anything that's revealed. So what's the nekuda of Shabbos? So now we have a whole new depth in the Shalah. When you learn the Shalah, what the Shalah is saying, since Hashem started his malacha with Eish, so we also say don't do Eish, because that was the first one and that was the general. Here it says much deeper than that. The inyan of Shabbos is Lo Sevaru Eish. The inyan of Shabbos is Tzur, so there's no Eish. The inyan of Shabbos is the Shvis of Asarim Amars, going beyond the place of his galus. Where does this galus begin? Because Shabbos Davoid is Tzur. The that's beyond the Shtalshlus, the that's not Shaykh to Olamas. Eish is the light that comes down, that flows down through Torah, through mitzvahs, Brasav Yitzartiv Asisiv. Shabbos is Voy Shavas. What's Shavas? Hashem did Teshuvah. What's that? Hashem did Teshuvah. What is he doing Teshuvah on? Teshuvah literally means returning back to your core, which is completely transcendent. Over there's no Asarim Amaris. Like we said, Asarim is a million dead yoit. It's peasant-like words. La Vorcha de Malka. It goes so back to the core, there's no Eish anymore. Why are you lighting a fire? So lighting a fire on Shabbos is completely disassociating from the entire energy of Shabbos. It's going to the place of Tzur, which is the beyond Olamus. So no fire is coming out. And that's where Teshuvah Ilah happens. Yeah. To come back home in that deepest space. And that's why it's the day of bliss, because Teshuvah Ilah is always blissful. Teshuvah Tata, there's an element of meritus and grief. There has to be. I feel bad. I feel remorse. Teshuvah Ilah is a place of tainug. It's bliss. It doesn't. People think they don't understand. They think Teshuvah Ilah means you don't take responsibility for your mistakes. No, of course you take responsibility for your mistakes, but you realize the one who made the mistakes has nothing to do with you. It's like a dibuk. It's like a dibuk. I have to take responsibility for my dibuk because it's mine. But it's like a dibuk. It's literally something inside of you. Yeah. I didn't know about it. The Radziner. The Radziner. Yeah. The Radziner Rebbe once said that it's in one of his svarim. Actually, I heard it from Rabbi Pinson, Rabbi Dovber Pinson a few years ago. And then I looked in his svarim, the Radziner, but I couldn't find it. But he told me he saw it in one of his svarim. Huh? He has a sefer, what's it called? On the Parshias. It's a beautiful sefer. But he told me he saw that he writes that the ultimate tshuva is, no, Mer Shiloich is the Ishbitzer, the Zayde, but this is the Radziner Rebbe. So he writes over there that the ultimate Teshuvah Ilah is that you reach a place where you realize, you reach such a place, you realize, how do you know you're doing the ultimate Teshuvah? You reach a place in your life where you realize that you don't have to do Teshuvah. But the only way you can reach that place is by doing a lot of Teshuvah. So it's a very, very deep vart. You do a lot of Teshuvah. And then when you do a lot of Teshuvah, your soul actually becomes aligned with the source. And then you realize that everything was exactly the way it was supposed to be. But you can only reach that place if you did a lot of Teshuvah. Because if not, you're actually probably a dangerous person. All the shortcuts that are happening in the last few years is people trying to get to Teshuvah Ilah without acknowledging the disaster which you need Teshuvah Tata. It's like, oh, I didn't do it, God did it. No. You did it and you're a disaster and you need a lot of healing. The only way you could say, I didn't do it, God did it, is when you completely are transformed, that you became nothing outside of God. And to get to that place, you have to do a lot of Teshuvah. You understand what I'm saying? And when you try to bypass that, it just becomes an absolute disaster. All of the spiritual experiments that are done, where you do all those shortcuts, where I'm just a channel and therefore I didn't do anything, you're a dangerous person. Because to be a channel, you have to surrender everything. And that's a lot of work.
So Sheshes Yamim Tavot means 6 days you have to do Teshuvah.
Yeah.
In order to come
Yeah.
to
Sheshes Yamim Tavod Teshuvah Tata. And that's dealing with the mechanics of the world, which begins with fire. And that's the avoid of the tzaddik. The avoid of the tzaddik is just somebody who is the flow is continuing. There's a very healthy flow. It would be like, in terms of pedagogy, of education, of neurological development, a person that all their wires developed in the right time, they hit what they call the right milestones, right? The neurons of empathy and the neurons of compassion and the neurons of boundaries and the neurons of self-confidence, like everything was developed. Now, good luck to find that person. But the point is that's what it's said, and the flow continues. So there's a fire, and you have all the abilities to be able to bring down that fire every single day. And that's the avodah, that's the Yemei HaChayil. And therefore you create a beautiful world. Sheishes Yamim Taveh. Shabbos is when you go back, Hashem Kevayachol rests, doesn't mean he rests. He rests means he retreats back to the core, which is the Oyer Shalamayla Me'olamas. Loizau Ikar Elokus Mashoylamas Mesavim Imeno. So Shabbos is the avodah where you can touch that space, pre-creation. In pre-creation, there's no damage. Yeah, it's the way the oil is in its source. So it's not Vayomer Elakim Yihi Ur.
So there's no light.
You're right.
It's
It's
the source.
the tzur. In Flintstone you have all the light, but it's not with an identity. It's just subsumed in the essence. From what? Evan Shasiya. Evan Shasiya, very nice. Very nice. The Gemara says it's called Evan Shasiya Mimeno Hushtas Ha'olam. The Evan Shasiya is the stone from which so you're saying it's connected to Tzur. Very nice. I didn't think of that. V'zeu gam kein mashaposik leisivaru eish b'chol mishvesechem yem haShabbos lamdu b'gemara shein einshin b'Shabbos v'chein lamdu miposik zeh shagehenim noch b'Shabbos l'chaydeinu movin shaychus pirush shemela l'pirush hashalah b'posik zeh. This explains something else. There's a Gemara in Maseches Yevamis and Sanhedrin that Bezdin had to quit on Shabbos. There was no punishments on Shabbos. Ein einshin b'Shabbos. Nothing. Why not? The answer is, so the Gemara says in Yevamis and Sanhedrin, from Sevaru Eish B'chol Meshvesechem B'Yom HaShabbos, you learn a general rule that there's no penalties on Shabbos. That's a Gemara. In Zohar it says that from this pasuk you learn there's no Gehenim on Shabbos. No lighting of fire on Shabbos. So all the fires are extinguished. God does what he tells us to do. So the Gehenim is also on vacation on Shabbos. All the AC system in Gehenim goes on Erev Shabbos before Shkia.
So if somebody lights a cigarette on Shabbos, there's also nothing Gehenim. There's no Gehenim on Shabbos.
Yeah, the problem is they can't find fires to light a cigarette on Shabbos, so they can't. Only here you can find the fire. In Gehenim, all the fires are gone, so nobody could light a cigarette.
So, but if he
Esh
does,
lecha esh, lo b'Shabbat, motzai Shabbat.
but if he does, it's like a mistake. It shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. So stellt sich the kasha, so it looks like all cute in Yanim. It's like all interesting things. But there's always a cloud. All the commentaries, which is a thing that Rabbi would often say, all commentaries on one pasuk are connected to each other. So sometimes you'll see on one pasuk, there's going to be 6 different interpretations. They seem completely not connected. But really they're all connected. They're just, it's like prisms. It's different angles. It's like a rainbow. It's accessing different aspects of the same source. Kepatish yefoitz itself. From the same rock come different sparks, but it's all from the same, like sparks from the same flame. Over here it looks like completely remote. The Shalosh says Hashem created light as the first Bria, so therefore Leisavaru Esh. The Gemara says don't punish. The Zohar says there's no Gehenim on Shabbos. Is there a connection? It's all one akuda. What's punishment? What's Gehenim? What are all these things? Punishment and Gehenim can only exist in the place where you need cleansing, where there's toxicity. The b'chinas ha'esh shayich b'bgam. In fire, there can be a blemish. Even from holy fire can come unholy fire. It's called Eish Zara, unholy fire, Eish de L'umaza. Passion can come in different ways. You could start off with holy passion, and then the passion could leak out into different ways, different passions. That's why it's very confusing, because passion is such a powerful thing, and sometimes it's very, very holy. But if there's a leak in your passion, this very same passion can lead and leak into dysfunctional things, fueling it with the same energy, because it's Eish. But on the level of tzur, over there the fire is not a metzias. There's no blemish. There can't even be a blemish, like we explained, that the spark will never be extinguished. So when it comes to this aspect, there's no lu'umaz, there's no klippa, there's no negative energy, nothing could feed off it, because there's nothing to feed off. It's no thing, it's ayin. V'lachein b'sheish, esimechel shavaydu b'chinas ha'eish, ein azay shayach inyan achet v'abgam, shlechein yesh be'oinshim v'gehenim. Mashenkin b'shabes kivan sham shachim b'chinas tzur, azay b'melam is batel oinshim v'gehenim, v'shim b'chinas zu em gam klal. So in the 6 days of the week with avodas, fire, with fire, in fire. It starts off with Asara Mamaris, Vayomer Elokim Yihi Oyer, and from there come everything else. So over there could be a ched, there could be sin, there could be a blemish, and therefore there's Einshim and there's Gehenim. It's all one thing. A punishment in Torah is not to destroy a person. I hate you. Vengeance, revenge. It's the consequence of when that happens. When I'm living a dysfunctional life, to be able to clear up the poison and the toxicity. It's like if somebody has in their system really things that are ruining the system, so you have to spit it out. Either it happens in this world. Gehenim is the purification process that the soul goes through in order to be able to restore itself to its pristine nature. What we call the fire of Gehenim, you're not talking about a physical fire where the person gets physically burnt, even though Chazal used that expression. That's why it's Eish. But the idea of Eish is that it literally, just like when you put silver or gold, metal in a refinery, in a crucible, that we learned in a Maimon Torah Kesisa, mitzrif lekesev, a kor lezov, ish lefi mahalaloi. It says in Mishlei. So what does it do? It removes all the sediments, all that's called dross. The dross is the zuhama, the psoilas, the lichluch, the dirt in the silver, the impurities. As long as there's no fire, the impurities can live there. When there's a fire, the impurities get spit out. They can't live there. And sometimes, if you want a more expensive type of silver or gold, you have 16 karat, you have 24 karat. What makes it that? You put it in fire again and again and again, and each time, as the heat goes up and the intensity of the fire intensifies, even subtle dross, subtle filth gets eliminated, because the intensity of the fire spits out even the most subtle form of dross, which the previous fire could still tolerate. The same is true in a person's life. Sometimes in life, there's a subtlety of corruption that in a previous state you didn't even realize. It sat well with you. And the point of the fire is to be able to highlight even that. So it's not a punishment the way we call a punishment. It's painful, but it's the best thing that ever happened to you, because you could spit it out. And that's the whole idea of Einshim and Gehenim. When does that apply? When you're talking about Eish. In Eish there could be a blemish, and now you need the Eish to restore it. As we said, there's holy fire, there's unholy fire. And when the unholy fire infiltrates and hijacks the holy fire, so you need good fire to remove it. So over there's Einshim, there's Gehenim. And then there's Shabbos. What's Shabbos? Lo yisevaru eish b'chol ma'ishvesech. So what the Shalah speaks on a higher level is the same idea that the Gemara speaks about and the Zohar speaks about. The Gemara is speaking about it from a place of halacha, so it's talking about Bezdin punishing. The Zohar is speaking about from a place of Pnimiyus HaTorah, so it's talking about Gehenim. It's really the same thing. One is what we see with our eyes, one is what we don't see with our eyes. And the Shalah is talking in the source of it all, which is that Shabbos is the place of Tzur, that's higher than Eish, and therefore there's no Pgam. So why talk about punishment? You don't need Gehenim. Gehenim I need in the place where I think I was blemished. Huh? So in that pchina, there was no pgam. So there's no einish, there's no gehenim. You were always whole. You're always going to be whole. And in that space, it's wow. Oh, okay, I got it. Over there was never a separation. The moment you hit that space, that's Teshuvah. That's what Teshuvah is. Teshuvah ilah. That's what Teshuvah is. You touch the place where there was never alienation. That's why I told you in last year, it works retroactively. It doesn't only work today. Teshuvah is not mikana lahaba. Teshuvah has the quality that redefines the whole past. Doesn't make sense. How could you say that? We're living in time. So Chassidus explains because Teshuvah is l'mayla min azman, because it's l'mayla min amakim. It's beyond Asara Mamoris. Time, space are all part of Asara Mamoris. It's part of Ishtalshalos. It's part of the evolution from the source down into reality. So there's different levels, but it's all levels of time and space. The moment you go beyond Makam, Hine Makam Itiv and it's after Alatzur, there's no Zman either. So it eliminates time. So that's philosophically, if you wish. What is it in Avodah? How does it go back? The answer is because over there was never an issue. It's not like that space never sinned. In fact, from that perspective, the whole reason you went through what you went through was to be able to reach a deeper space of consciousness. So the way it looks at the dysfunctionality is, oh yeah, that was the journey that you really needed to be able to discover yourself. Welcome home, thank you. It's a whole different inyan. So that's the koyach of Teshuvah, it's lamafreya. In that space there was always, it actually happens. When you remove all that, you go to the tzur, you're like, okay, got it. Done.
So it means that Gehenna doesn't exist on Shabbos.
Yeah. There's no Gehenna on Shabbos. There's no Gehenna on Shabbos. The Mishnah says in Peya, Afilu Ama'aretz Eina Meshaka b'Shabbos. And the Mishnah says, the Yerushalmi explains, even an Ama'aretz doesn't lie on Shabbos. What's pshat? So a person lies a whole week, but there's something on Shabbos. Now you'll say there's people that lie on Shabbos. And you have seen the Gehenna open on Shabbos also. Some people have been in Gehenna on Shabbos too. And not everybody finds it so. And on Shabbos there is chait and there is b'gam. And sometimes people use Shabbos to do the worst sins in the world. I'm not going to elaborate. So what's pshat? So that's, of course, but he's not saying that there's no Bechira on Shabbos. There's Bechira on Shabbos. We're talking about what's the true pristine energy of Shabbos that the soul experiences. But without the Avodah throughout the whole week, there's no Shabbos. Misha Darch Berev Shabbos Echel B'Shabbos. Just want to clarify this. Not like, Shabbos, there's no sin. Nobody ever sins. Of course people sin on Shabbos. Sometimes the worst crimes are done on Shabbos.
So what's the pshat?
This is the energy of Shabbos, but a person has to choose the energy.
Zohar says if you light the Havdalah candle before this month, you're lighting up the fire.
The fire of Gehenna, yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. Lighting a fire on Shabbos essentially is igniting the fire of Gehenna. Why? So now we see, because it's all one akudah. What does it mean, igniting the fire of Gehenna? It's igniting the fire that sees blemish, that sees toxicity. Gehenna is the fire that cleanses the soul. Lighting a fire on Shabbos means I'm going into that space that is creating the whole reality of Gehenna. Shabbos is the avodah of tzur, and over there there's a silence. There's no chaos, and that's why creating fire on Shabbos is literally creating a reality in which there's a need of cleansing because there could be dysfunction. Matzai Shabbos. Matzai Shabbos, you can make a bracha. We learned last time, the Gemara says in Pesachim that Adam took the two flint stones and he knocked them against each other and nitzutz came out, and that's what we're celebrating. After Shabbos, And now you make a fire, now we go into a different stage. The avodah of the weekdays is not Shuvah Elah. The avodah of the weekdays is Teshuvah Tata. It's bringing down the fire. Well, the Amshinava waits till... that's why the Amshinava likes to delay Mitzvah Shabbos. There was once a Yid, he used to do Malava Malkus very, very late, and it was 2 a.m, and they asked him, no, it's so late. He said, it's still too early to be Makabal the next Shabbos. So he would like the Malav Malka to go for another 6 days.
Well, that's actually one of the contradictions I have, like bad images stuck in the mind of Balshua. Because when Balshua comes comes to the Yiddishkeit, he sees all these tzaddikim that they don't want to even do the work. The malach ali, the chayrim, all the good things. They sit the whole week like a bechila Shabbos learning. They don't think about malach and stuff like that. So the Moshiach comes into the world and says, it's not for me. I have to do something. So it's one of the contradictions. And some Bolshulas talk become a beast.
What was the Rosh Tevis you said last time?
FH, from habit.
Okay.
It's one of the wrong pictures.
So your taif is the whole Indian here. So this is the end of the whole Savaru Eish of the Shalah. It's a whole different depth in the Shalah. Right? It's a depth that Chassidus is Moisef in the Shalah. That's not just the first malacha that Hashem did, and therefore that's what you start with, and that's the emphasis, and it's a malacha klolis. That's what the Shalah says. But now we're learning that this essentially is the whole Indian of Shabbos. The Nekud of Shabbos is to go beyond. Once you understand, Loizeu Iker Elokus Mashoilam is Mishavim Imenu. And Eish is the beginning of the Hamshacha from the source into the world. And Eish on its own wants to go back and be subsumed in the source. And that's what happens on Shabbos. And the whole world goes up with it. When you say when I rest, when we talk about rest, why don't people say God rested? What's this joke? What, he was tired and he rested? Because we look at rest, right? You played basketball for 2 hours, or you did the laundry, or you swept, or you were sitting at a computer, you were writing, or you were running, whatever it is. And then, you finished your b'dikas chametz, you sit down on the couch. So now you rest, you take a nap. So your koiches come back to you. Till now, my koiches were being projected, whatever I was doing. I could be sweeping, I could be mopping, I could be talking to somebody, I could be writing, I could be concentrating, whatever it is. And now you relax. You reclaim your energy from whatever you were involved in. Yeah, you took a run, and now you sit down, you relax. That's all with a person, because me and the world outside of me are two separate things. But when the whole world is really divine energy, so when God relaxes, when he retreats, when he reclaims the energy, you know what else happens? Everything comes with him. It's not he goes on the couch. The whole world becomes our Shabbos Dikim Metzias. It's an andere Welt. It's a world of Tzur. It's not a world of Eish. Everything is there, but it's in the source. Right? It says Shabbos is the aliyah from Dibur to Machshava. It's a whole different Inyan. All the malachas of Shabbos are essentially violating the frequency of pure, undefined oneness. That's why you don't make a change on Shabbos. You're allowed to schlep a couch on Shabbos. You're not allowed to make a creative change on Shabbos. Because every malacha on Shabbos, that's a malacha on Shabbos is, it contaminates that moment. It's creating. What's wrong with creating? Creating is the beginning of all the dysfunctionality of Chet and Gehenna. That's what creates Gehenna. During the week, that's the Avodah, yeah. The Avodah is you need Bezdin with Oynish, with Gehenna. That's where it happens. And it all starts with Oir. What's Oir? Oir is light. It should be seen. It should be revealed. Mashiach in the place of Tzur, that's beyond Yehi. There's no Yehi. On the Tzur, there's no Oir. Tzur is the source of everything. Tzur Yisrael v'goy aloi. That's why it's the rock. It's so powerful. Like we said before, it's the real Gvura. The real Gvura, the Zrizus. We spoke before what Tzur is. That's all the B'chin of Tzur. That's Lamayla Me'olamas. Ki voy shavas mikol malachta shabara lekim lasas.
But Tzur is also the result of explosion. The result of creating. Stars exploding, creating all the elements.
Right. You're saying even a flintstone is physical. Yeah, obviously it's a marshal. Yeah. You're right.
And that's where the term sabbatical comes from.
Sabbatical. It does. Sabbath. Shemitah. Shemitah is called sabbatical. Yeah. You take a sabbatical.
From work, you take a sabbatical.
Yeah. It's not maybe. That's where the word comes from. Sabbath. Yeah. Based on all of this, he now comes back to the last shtickle. You remember the two mitzvahs that we do now, that we read now about. That's preparation for Pesach, Parshas Parah, Parshas HaChodesh. The only two mitzvahs where it says Zois Chukas. And the Medrash has this whole big debate. Who's bigger, who's smaller? How do you know who's bigger? With the whole mashal of the two queens. We spoke about in the first shiur, all the questions around that Medrash. So, There's 2 mitzvahs from 613 that are similar to each other. The only mitzvahs that it says on them, Zois Chukas, which is the Korban Pesach and Parah Adumah. Parah Adumah, it says Zois Chukas HaTorah. Korban Pesach, it says in Parshas Boy, Zois Chukas HaPesach. The only 2 mitzvahs. So obviously, they're like twins. They're the 2 mitzvahs that have a special similarity to each other. But the Medrash says we can't figure out which one is greater. And for here the Medrash says it's like 2 queens that were walking and they're dressed the same and they look the same and they're both aristocratic and royal and regal, and you're trying to figure out who's greater and you can't. And then you see who escorts whom home. One queen escorted the other one home. She waited till she went inside and she feels that she cannot leave her alone. She needs to be with her and escorts home, and then she walks home alone, and then you say, now I know. And that's the Medrash's mashal to figure out who's greater than whom. So the whole inyan is muksha. And here too, the Pesach, you can't have without Parah Adumah. You can't have Pesach without Parah Adumah. Because to do a Korban Pesach, you need to be pure. To be pure, you have to have a Parah Adumah. Everybody needs a Parah Adumah if you're impure. Or even if you have a suffix. You can't bring a carbon if you're not pure. You can't go to the Beis HaMikdash, you can't bring a carbon, you can't have somebody else bring a carbon for you, and you certainly can't eat the carbon. So Mela, the Pesach must have the Parah Adumah. So he says, the general theme of Torah and mitzvahs is called Chukah. Every mitzvah. Why? The word chukah we usually translate as a law, chok. A chok, in modern Hebrew you say it's a chok, it's a law. But the word chok comes from the word chakuk. Chakuk means engraved. If you remember, we learned last year, look at the Torah, b'chukaisai telechu, he teaches miloshin chakik, oisis a chakik, engraved. In other words, Torah and mitzvah sichli is chakukim b'nefesh adam. And this is not a small idea. What does engraved mean? When you write something, a Sefer Torah, you write letters on the parchment, they're connected, but you can erase the ink. And you could write something else. Seifrim do it all the time. A scribe erases the ink, clears it up, and does a new letter. Chakika is different. Chakika is you engrave the letter inside the stone, for example, like a matzeva, yeah? Or another tablet, like the luchais. It's chorus ala luchais. It was chakuk. Here, the letters are part and parcel of the reality upon which they're engraved. You don't have the stone and you added letters to the stones. No, it's minei ubei. The letters were created from the stone itself. So he says when it says zois chukas, it's not a pashat of art. It's how you relate to Torah and mitzvahs. Is it something additional to reality? So I exist, and then God happens to be stronger than me, and he's the boss. So he gave a book of laws, and Constitution says, if you want to live in this planet, these are the laws. If not, Trump expels you from America, I expel you from the whole planet. Trump, the Vaila, only owns America. I mean, soon he's going to get to Gaza, v'chuli, till he finishes with the whole world. But since I own the planet, these are the rules. Essentially, what's the mistake here? The mistake here is, there's a relationship, there's a duality. Chakika means something else. Actually, Torah and mitzvahs are inscribed in your DNA. It's what your genetics are made out of. It's a whole different relationship. Yeah. 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 It's literally making peace with your DNA. Right? It's like a guy says, a guy once said, I don't want God interfering with my life. Yeah, it's like the guy who came to the doctor, and the doctor told him about his genes, and he said, I don't want my genes interfering with my life. The doctor said, I don't know how to break this to you, but your genes are your life, my dear. Your genes are not interfering with your life. The only one who's interfering in your life is your stupid mind, your stupid ego. Your genes are your life. The question is who you are. Huh? Because Judaism is not a religion. Very good. You're right. If Judaism is a religion, then you're right. You can't have this. The moment you understand it's the fabric of reality, it's a whole different Indian. Torah is the fabric of, that's what it means in Zohar. He looked in the Torah and he created the world. What do you mean you looked in the Torah and created the world? What? You don't say that with religion. You looked in religion, you created the world. That means there's nothing in science and physics and cosmology and mathematics and trigonometry and geology and botany. There's no nekuda, biology, whatever you want. There's no nekuda in the world that wasn't created based on the blueprint of Torah. So it's engraved into reality. This is reality. So in a person's life, it means that the person is channeling the blueprint of reality. That's chukas. It's engraved. But in this chukah, there's two paths. There's the way that tzaddik lives it out, and there's the way the Baal Teshuvah lives it out. It's two different paths. Chukas ha-pesach shekshura mitzias mitzrayim sho'achana lamatan Torah u'inyan avodas ha-tzaddikim. Chukas ha-Torah she'ipara adumu u'inyan avodas ha-Teshuvah. Pesach was a new beginning. Like it says in Yecheskel, the Jewish people were born on the night of Yetzias Mitzrayim. L'kachas loy goy mikerev goy, we say it in the Haggadah. I came to see you in Egypt. Va'at erim, ve'eri was like a new baby that just came out from the womb of its mother filled with blood. There's a whole chapter in Yecheskel about this. We say it in the Haggadah. Va'at erim, ve'eri mizbaiseses b'damayich, va'oimalach b'damayich chayi, like a little baby just came out of the womb, a fetus, and it's completely saturated with blood. And I had to cut the umbilical cord. And he describes that was Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's an innocent baby where the neurons are just starting to develop. The baby looks at everything and takes it in and learns about life from new. So the Pesach is avodas tzadik. And that's why it starts off, it's called Chodesh HaAviv. It's brought in Chassidus. Aviv is Aleph Beis. It starts off with the Aleph Beis. Tishrei starts off with Tav Shin, Tashrak. It goes from downwards upwards. Nisan is the opposite. Aviv, it's Aleph Beis, it goes Milmayla Lamata. Because it's a child growing up in the regular system. System, I mean the system of God. I don't mean other people's systems. Avodas HaTzadikim, that's Pesach. They left Egypt. The first time they were molded as a people. They weren't a people before. They were in the womb of the Egyptians. That's what a slave is. A slave is you live in other people's lives. To be free means you're born. You're actually born. Literally born. And when you're born, now they go to Matan Torah. So this is the Avodah. Everything is fresh, everything is new. What's Chukas HaTorah? Chukas HaTorah is Para Aduma. Para Aduma is a whole different inyan. You're impure. You became disconnected. And what's the impurity that Para Aduma deals with? Misa. Avi Avai Satama. What's death spiritually? Detachment. Disassociation from life. Yeah. And that was the Chet HaEgel. After Matan Torah. The flow of life was interrupted. You cut the wires, literally. That's what death is. Death is the wires were cut from the soul to the body. Or in the lashon of this mimer, there's no wick to hold down the fire. There's no wick. The fire is gone. So Para Aduma is the avodas ha-teshuvah. Valzen nemar is this. Imagine shneim doimim zelaz. Comes the medrash and says, I want you to know that these two mitzvahs are actually similar to each other. And you can't know which one is greater than the other. Because they walk together. It's two trajectories of life. There's no jealousy and competition. You're a tzaddik and Baal Teshuvah. It's literally two paths. And you don't know which one is greater. And the diuk is gedola. We teach greater, like who's more chashev, who gets more credit. Says that's not what gedola means. Gedola means something much deeper. Because tam to compare mitzvahs, what is this? Some contest here? They're going on a trip. Who's getting the first trip? Who's getting the first trophy? What is this? The Olympics? What do you want from me? It doesn't seem healthy. It's like a mother sitting, they have two children. Who's greater? Why are you doing that? That's not what that's not what parents are supposed to do. You are you and you're you. Why do we have to be greater, smaller? Hierarchy doesn't seem to be the most authentic expression of reality. So the word gedola means something much deeper. It says in Ashrei and Tehillim, Hashem is great and very praised, and His greatness has no inquiry. It means you can't research it because it's infinite. So you see in this pasuk that he speaks about two types of gedula. Gadol Hashem mahulal ma'od v'ligdula se'en chek. Hagdula the shem avaya sheb'chinas ishtalshalos. Ve'in ligdula se'en chek shelamayla mishtalshalos shelachein nemer ligdula se'istam lamayla mishem avaya de lo yisnam is b'shem v'lo ba'oz v'kotz. Gadol Hashem mahulal ma'od is you're calling Hashem by a name. Yutke Vavke is very great. V'ligdulasai without a name. His greatness ain't cheker. So first of all, you say God Lashem Muhulul Ma'oid. So you say He's very praised. Then you say, I can't talk about it. So why do you talk about it? The pasuk contradicts itself. First you say, God Lashem Mahulol Ma'oid. Oh, by the way, we shouldn't talk about it. So don't talk about it. Why'd you start? So he says it's two separate inyanim. The first is God Havaya Mahulol Ma'oid. This is Hishtalshlus. This is Yudke Vavke. God as creator. Of course you should talk about it. Of course you should talk about the greatness of the infinity of the world. Of course. It's the way Hashem is expressed in the world. Of course you should talk about it. Don't stop talking about it. Ad ma'oid, till infinity. In fact, it's the only thing you should talk about. There's nothing else. Nothing else to talk about. What else are you going to talk about? This is reality. Of course, that's all you should talk about. Ligdula soy, there's no name. Ein cheker. This is l'mayla mishtalshlus. Over here you have to know that words won't touch it. Cheker, investigation, can't touch it because it's beyond the shtalshlus. It's l'mayla m'shem avaya. Doesn't have an expression in any letter and in any kites. V'hine b'yitzias mitzrayim hoya gili b'chinas shem avaya k'mesha kosa v'eida Avram Yitzchak Yaakov be'kel shindalad yud u'shmi Hashem lo yinai daiti lem l'chein amar le'bnei Yisrael ani avaya shezau klolos inyan ha'Torah mitzvos ki yadu Hashem mitzvos tluyin b'shem avaya v'zau inyan gadol avaya Yitzias mitzrayim. There was the revelation of Shem avaya, like he tells him Moshiach appeared to Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov with the name Shindalad Yud, but not Shmi avaya. That the true inner Shem Havaya was not revealed till Yitzias Mitzrayim, and this is expressed in Torah and mitzvahs, as it says that mitzvahs are connected to Shem Havaya. In fact, the word mitzvah is mem tzadik. If you do at bash, if you exchange the first for the last, mem tzadik is yud and hey, and then the last two letters is vav and hey. And those who say the hiratzon of the Arizal at the end of Krishma Shalamita, there's all the mitzvahs, how they affect Shem Havaya. The Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. Every mitzvah is connected to another energy of Shem Havaya. Because these are like the electrical wires that channel Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey into the world, which is also the four worlds. Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah, Kela, Nikr, B'Shmi, B'Lechvaydi, B'Rasi, B'Yitzayte, B'Afasis. Omnam Para Aduma, Winyan Avedis HaTshuvah. Para Aduma, this is a different inyan. This is Teshuvah. V'ur B'Drushi Para Aduma. L'kut Torah b'protes Yosef b'drushi shnas tafresh chavtes shapora kabilas mismala. In the vision of Yecheskel, pnei shoyer is mehasmoil, the face of the ox receives from the left side. From this comes the alien fire. V'avoid the list of his kol hatziyurim abilti tzuyim. The avoid of paradum is to burn all the tziyurim, all the forms that are undesirable. The forms. V'sheyishoyer rak koyach hamisava. You should remain only with the pristine, craving power, and that you could sublimate to holiness. The whole avoid of paradum is you take the para. The para represents the animal, the cow. It receives its energy from gvura, from the left side, which is some concealment, and from this came an alien fire, which is all the cravings and all the coping mechanisms of the animal soul. What do you do with the paraduma? You burn it. You burn it and you reduce it to ashes. And then you mix the ashes with water and that cleanses you. So it's the same paraduma, it's the animal soul that was challenging you that becomes the source of cleansing. Why? He says you have to burn away the tziyurim. And you have to get back to the skeleton, to the core, which is the koyach hamisava, what we call the ashes. What does it mean? Every nefesh habahamis has two parts. There's its outer form, and there's the original craving, koyach hamisava. All the impurity in the world can only be in the tziyur of the nefesh habahamis, not in the koyach hamisava of the nefesh habahamis. If you take every craving of the nefesh habahamis and you burn all of the outer layers of it, and you get to the core, what it really wants, you can bring it back to kedusha. So amayda de kavart. You hear? Yeah. There's the way the animal soul speaks, what it's looking for, and then what it's really looking for. You don't know what it's really looking for. You know what it says it's looking for. What it says it's looking for and what it's really looking for is completely two worlds. And the only way to get from one to the other is by burning up everything on the outside. By abstaining from everything it's looking for and saying, no, tell me what you're really looking for. No, tell me what you're really looking for. Always, of course there's a connection. But the outer form, what's called the tziyur of the koyach hamisava, could be so different than what the real koyach hamisava is. But it has a way of making you think that this tziyur is going to fill the real void, but it's never going to fill the real void because it's not what it's really looking for. It just becomes a representation of what it's looking for, and that's really what the egel hazav means. What does a cat? What does a goat? Why worship a calf? Worship a calf. And what did Moshe do? Yeah. He grinded it up completely. Grind it up completely. Burnt it, grinded it up, and then put it into the stream of water. People don't realize that's the source of Parah Aduma. Every mitzvah of the 613 mitzvahs has a source and a story. Every one. Gid Hanash says clearly, but every one. Moshe did to the Egel Hazav what we do to the Parah Aduma. You have to burn it. You have to mix it with water. And let them drink. Yashkas b'nei Yisrael. So we put it on the tummy. What's the idea? Don't destroy your nefesh habahamis. Find out what it's looking for. Koyach hamisava. The thing that l'chayda made you have all the problems. That's what's cleansing you. Why are ashes of a behemoth cleansing you? I don't understand. You're saying it came from the behemoth. The answer is it came from the tzir of the behemoth, not from the pristine energy of the behemoth. Pristine energy of the behemoth comes from the Merkava, Yecheskel. It comes from Pnei Shor. It went down, it got dysfunctional, it got lost in translation. So you always have to find out what's the Koyach HaMesava. When you speak about the Koyach HaMesava, everything changes. The outer fear is not what it's really afraid of. The outer anxiety is not really what's making it anxious. The outer jealousy, hatred, gossip, slander, insecurity, whatever it is that it's struggling with. Cravings for this, craving for this. Could be an addiction to food, an addiction to drinking, an addiction to promiscuity, to intimacy, to all the horrible things. There's a koyach hamesava there. And that's why no addict in the world is ever going to recover, or will ever recover, if the person does not find God. Because the craving you're not going to get rid of. You're just going to find out what you really, really are craving for. You can't get rid of the craving. The question is, how in touch are you with the true craving? If you're in touch with your true craving, then you know what you're looking for. It's a different Inyan. And then that koyach hamesava you can already bring back to Kedusha. That koyach hamesava is innocent. It's not bad. And then you can completely align it with holiness and say, that's what you were looking for, my Tayyid Behema. Come, let's take you. Now to get to the Behema, to that space, is avoid of Parah Aduma. So the whole Parah Aduma is the Inyan of Teshuvah. That's the avodah. And that's Gedulah Soya in Cheker Shalamayla me Gadol Havaya. So you have two inyanim. Gadol Hashem Muhulol Miyot. That's Yitzias Mitzrayim, which revealed Shem Havaya, and that's Gadol, and it's Muhulol Miyot. But that's not Teshuvah. That's Hishtalshalus. Teshuvah is going back to the core, to the tzur, where there was no blemish. Ein Cheker. Over there's no words, there's no investigation. It's Lamayla Hishtalshalus. And that's the whole idea of helping the Nefesh HaBahamas come back to that space. Coming back to that space of Tzur. Ub'shem Havaya gufu inyan Shem Havaya de la'ela shulamayla m'Shem Havaya de l'tzata v'zeh em beis pamim Havaya sh'inyan Havaya de l'tzata v'Havaya de la'ela k'mo shekasub b'dgil midas harachamim. Vayikra Havaya Havaya vayikra Hashem Hashem lefi shebinyan atshuvah tzarich lahamshich gam b'chinas Havaya de la'ela. Because Teshuvah, you can't just go to the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the lower level. You need the highest level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Vayikra Hashem Hashem ke'orachem v'chan. So you have two elements of Torah and mitzvahs. We don't know which is Gadol. What we don't know which is Gadol? They're both Gadol. There's Gadol Hashem Muhulol Moed. There's Gedulah Soya and Cheker. They're both Gadol. There's Tzaddikim, there's Baalei Teshuvah. There's Yitzias Mitzrayim and there's Teshuvah. U'Mesayim b'Medrash Migdoila HaPara. Yet I want to tell you that there's one that's greater. The Parah Aduma. Sha'oichlei Pesach tzrichin la. Because even those who eat the carbon Pesach need the Parah Aduma. The Parah Aduma is a Parah Aduma. You don't have to bring a carbon Pesach when you bring a Parah Aduma. But if you want to bring the carbon Pesach, you need the help of the Parah Aduma. Shenemer v'lokchu la'tomei me'afar sreifas achatas. Shezau shegam tzadikim tzrichim l'teshuvah. Because at the end of everything, the tzadikim also need teshuvah. It says in Zoyar, Moshiach asel la'asav tzadikaya b'teyufta. Moshiach is going to bring the tzadikim back to teshuvah. You want to know how you're going to know who Moshiach is? The guy who's going to be able to make tzadikim become Baalei Teshuvah. Only Moshiach can do this. To make Baalei Teshuvah, other people can also do. But to make tzadikim Baalei Teshuvah, I'm not tzaddik. It's toit Moshiach. And that's why tzaddikim have the hardest time with Moshiach. Because he threatens everything. The Baal Teshuvah is happy, kavaldik. The tzaddik, when the tzaddik smells Moshiach energy, this is dangerous territory. Dangerous territory. Yeah. The Baal Teshuvah is in a place with Tzaddik Mori Michael Lamed. Now Moshiach is actually trying to schlep the tzaddik up. He says, oh, no. I created a comfort zone, 85 years, bestoit Moshiach. It's a comfort that the whole world already knows that I'm a tzaddik. Okay, I'm doing it a little with humor. Here we're talking about even a real tzaddik, not just the tzaddik seeking, the real tzaddik. That's the sign of Mashiach. The sign of Mashiach is that but not that the Baal Teshuvah loses his tzir, that the tzaddik loses his tzir. Your typhus? The Baal Teshuvah to lose his tzir, to lose his structure, his comfort zone, that's what Teshuvah is. You can't do Teshuvah without that. If you want to stay in your comfort zone, there's no Teshuvah. But the tzaddik built up a beautiful comfort zone. We're not talking about a corrupt tzaddik. We're talking about a tzaddik who's accessing the flyer every day. Hashem Elokecha eish eichlu with bittul. The tzaddik made a beautiful tziyur. He built up a palace, a mansion of goodness, of holiness. To burn that, I get it. I empathize with them. I empathize with the tzaddik being resistant. To let go of that. To let go of that tziyur. It's a nice tziyur. I understand if you have a crazy dysfunctional tziyur, you got to burn everything, get back to the koyach hamesava. And this is, by the way, the nisayon of people who, from Bali Teshuvah, they become tzaddikim. And they forget what it means to be a Baal Teshuvah. There's no Moshiach. Moshiach is la'asav tzadikaya b'tiyufta. That the tzaddik does Bali Teshuvah. When the person being makriv the carbon Pesach says, I need the para aduma. It's a different type of gadol. Because the moment that tzaddik becomes comfortable in mitzias, he's already not really connected. The moment you become comfortable in the eish, rather than the tzur, it's a form of disconnection. Even though he's always connected, that's his beauty, there's a flow. But the moment you become comfortable in the concretization of the flow, so there's no dynamic connection with the source of everything.
The wick is there, the fire is there.
Everything is there. The wick is there, and it's a beautiful fire. It's not a corrupt. We're not talking about a corrupt fire. We're talking about a tzaddik.
It doesn't smell bad.
What's that? The Baal Teshuvah's dysfunctionality caused him to go to Atzmus, to go to Ein Sof, to go to Lamayla Mishtalshlos. The tzaddik says, I'm not dysfunctional. I'm a good guy. I'm loving. I'm normal. I'm sane. I like myself. I like other people. I love God. I'm a good guy.
For this he was created.
And what do you want? And I'm also a source of inspiration. When people want to see a normal person, Mekum Tzamir. You understand? And I'm saying this all in a genuine way. I don't mean that the tzaddik gets up and makes this announcement after Baruch or after Kriyas HaTorah. We're talking about an inner energy. Was willst du von mir? Was willst du? Why are you breaking down that which was so good and holy? And this is a very, very deep experience. And that's the p'chin of Mashiach. Mashiach asid la'asav tzadikaya b'tiyufta. This is the p'chin of Mashiach. Yeah, the ultimate surrender. The real dveikus. Yeah. There's a vart that everyone said at a Fabrengen. What a vart. It says in Gemara, Yochanan Kain Gadol, Shimesh b'kuhuna, Shmoinim Shana, Ula b'soif Nasa Tzduki. Yochanan Kain Gadol was a Kain Gadol for 80 years, and at the end he became a Tzeduki, he became a Sedusi. So the Rebbe said, Ula b'soif Nasa Tzduki. After 80 years of serving in Kodesh HaKadoshim, Ula b'soif Nasa Tzduki, Gevar not tzadik by zich. Nasa Tzduki. He finally said, you know what? Ich bin a tzadik. Le besoif nasa tzduki, the hest. You hear a word? Nicht kein word. This is, could you believe, 80 years he was in Kodesh HaKadoshim and he came out. That means God believes you're a good guy. You can't, there's no fake news in Kodesh HaKadoshim. Kodesh HaKadoshim is not a Haredi website. It's not some political party or some banquet and dinner. Huh? Kodesh HaKadoshim is real stuff. Either you're in or out. Everybody who wasn't worthy, they died in Kodesh. He came out 80 years to Kodesh. What does that mean? He didn't have a machshava zari, he didn't have. We can't even relate to it, Yochanan Kain Gadol. And what happened after 80 years? What was his downfall? He started to feel like a tzaddik. He woke up in the morning and he said, I'm here. And that moment, you become detached. Not detached in a grubber, disgusting way. We're not talking about that. He didn't go afterwards to sin in Tribeca, in Greenwich Village. He went back to Kodesh HaKadoshim. But it was already a different Yochanan Kain Gadol. It's the most subtle form of ego.
Which is ego as a
Very good. Very good. Yeah. V'hainu sha'chidish yischadesh b'biyas HaMashiach hu inyan avodas hateshuvah b'kol echad v'echad. The energy that's going to be nischadesh, what's Mashiach energy? Teshuvah in every person. And by the way, if you haven't realized, it's exactly what you're observing. What does teshuvah in every person mean? Teshuvah means that even in the biggest tzaddik, there has to be a complete transformation. He has to be cracked open. And here it's a deeper challenge, because what are you cracking open? You're cracking open a holy husk. You're not cracking open a sick, contaminated klipa. That I understand has to be cracked open. It's full of viruses and germs. Crack it open. Here you're cracking open something much holier. And that's why the resistance of the tzaddik to Moshiach, I'm telling you, is unparalleled. Yeah, obviously there's different levels. There's somebody who's not a real tzaddik, but here the chiddush is we're talking about a real tzaddik. A real tzaddik means that in your own mind you're actually doing the right thing. You're protecting God Almighty. You're protecting God Almighty. But the bittul b'metzias that he's talking about here, the tzur, the teshuvah, he doesn't have. Right. Just one second. Yeah, hello? I'm just in the middle of a shir, yeah. I'll call you in a few minutes, okay?
We don't believe that there are tzaddikim, basically, what we said?
So let's finish. No, if I care, there are tzaddikim. But when the more Mashiach gets revealed, we realize that the only real tzaddik is the tzaddik who knows that he needs to be a Baal Teshuvah. Yeah, that's what we're realizing.
Where does this concept come from? What's Jews' source for this idea?
Take a look in footnote 71. The Kutta Torah Drushim L'Rosh Hashanah Ha'azinu Shmini Atzeres Shir Hashirim. The Alter Rebbe quotes the Zohar over there that Mashiach Asid La'asavet Tzadikaya B'Tiyufta. The whole Pnimi Satira is based on this. It's not about that. It's not who's real. It's not about figuring out who's real. And the Baal Teshuvah too by Biyas HaMashiach. Let the Baal Teshuvah also not become suddenly a tzaddik. That's another danger. The Baal Teshuvah says, I'm the good guy because I'm so dysfunctional. I'll teach everybody what Teshuvah is. He says, the Baal Teshuvah darf euch Teshuvah tun.
Because he becomes the FFB.
Exactly. Sometimes the most dangerous FFB is the guy who says, I know everything. I even know what it means to be a fahakta FFB because I left it. I know everything. Yeah. Bavel and Yavan and Bavel and Paras and Yavan and Edom. The Medrash goes through the Lashonis. Vichul chapara aduma tmima. Ein bamum lo goes on the four exiles. Shezau achana legula sida the geshem shegolus mitzrayim is achana lamatan Torah vedas tzadikim va'aznes galia the Torah k'meikan agolus dakshav achana legula sida shaz yizgalu loirak rozin deiraisa legam rozin dirozin sheshayich linyan atshuva k'meisha kosav yishakeni min ashikis piyu upirush Rashi the koy al tami atayra she yizgalu la'asid. It says in Medrash that Parah Aduma represents the four exiles that lead to Geula, because just like Yitzias Mitzrayim and Galus Mitzrayim prepared for Matan Torah, which is tzadikim, and what was revealed by Matan Torah, Nigla, the revealed part of Torah, the 613 mitzvahs and all the halacha, because that's the revelation that's connected to tzadikim, Nigla. The revelation that's connected to Baal Teshuvah, that's Pnimi Satayra. Because Pnimi Satayra reveals the Elikus that's beyond Olamus, the divinity that's beyond contracts, the tzur that's beyond eish, where there's no blemish, and that's what Teshuvah, that's what creates the whole Teshuvah. So Pnimi Satayra is essentially the Torah of Teshuvah. Nigla the Torah is the Torah of tzaddikim. That's what he says. So it's a hafla de kinyan. So carbon Pesach is the carbon of tzaddikim. Para Aduma is the carbon of Teshuvah. And it's interesting, Para Aduma is the only carbon that was done outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Michutz. To the point that the Gemara even wants to know why you're calling it a carbon. The Gemara says, Rachmana Karya Chatas. The Torah calls it a carbon. The only, another carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash, it's an Isser Karis. You're not allowed to bring a carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Eliyahu Hanavi once in history brought a carbon on Har HaKarmel, and it was a special prophecy. But B'chlal, here there was a mitzvah to bring a carbon outside. You weren't allowed to do it in the Beis HaMikdash. You had to leave. The only carbon in the world, because that's the whole of Paradum. It's outside. It's not inside.
It's before the third
and it's avodas hatshuvah. The Rambam says that there were 9 cows. The para hasiris is going to be made by Moshiach. Rambam Hilchas Paradum. He ends off hasiris yasem melech haMashiach meheri yigola amin ken yiratza. So what? I'm quoting the Rambam. The Rambam expresses himself with it. Meheri yigola. The Rambam is writing a halacha. The 10th one, he says he should be revealed speedily amin ken. In the Rambam, he gets. Yeah. The Rebbe was once talking about this Rambam, so he said, "Look, how's it coming to the Rambam? I mean, it's nice to make tefillas on Mashiach, but so he says this is also halacha. The Rambam was teaching you that when you mention Mashiach, the desire should be so strong, and there's a halacha if you want something, you have to daven to Hashem. So the Rambam started to daven. That's good as a halacha. That itself is a halacha. I'll call upon him. So what's the shaykhus? So he says because this is the lead up to Gula Asidah. That's why the Medrash says it's the 4 exiles. Because this Galus is Achana to Gula Asidah, and what's going to be revealed then? By Matan Torah, the main revelation was Nigla. Mashiach is going to reveal mainly Razin, the secrets of Torah. Not just the secrets, Razin, the secrets within the secrets. And this is Rashi. Rashi says in Shir Hashem, says, Yishakeni min ashikas piyu. I want a kiss of your mouth. So Rashi says that Mashiach is going to reveal Soita Meo Mr. Tzvunai, the deepest secrets of Torah. Mashiach is going to reveal. Clear Rashi. Rashi says it in Shir Hashem. And this is the reason why they have fatzas ab mayonas the pnimis ha-Torah chutz. This is the reason why Moshiach told the Baal Shem Tov that for Moshiach to come is yafutza ma'nesech chutz. The preparation for Moshiach is the spreading, the dissemination of the well springs of pnimis ha-Torah out. What's the connection? Why? Stam Moshiach said, "Look, yafutza ma'nesech chutz, I'm going to come." Why? A schar mitzvah is mitzvah. When you want to understand the mitzvah, you have to look at the reward. If Mashiach is going to come from that, it means that is Mashiach, not a separate thing. He tells the Baal Shem Tov, if your well springs get spread, then I'll come. Why? Because that's what it means. What does it mean I'm going to come? What it means I'm going to come is that there's going to be the real Gili of Pnimi Satayra. That's the same thing. It's not a separate Inyan. That is the Gili of Gula, that the truth of Pnimi Satayra will be saturated in every cell of every person. That is the Gili of Mashiach. That is the Gili of the Gula. And that's the Pchina of Teshuvah, the Tzur, which is L'mayla Me'olamas. But experienced viscerally, even in the animal soul, by taking it back to the Kayach HaMesava. And through this you married Pnimi Satayra, then Pnimi Satayra will be revealed L'kol Echad V'Echad Miyisrael, to every single Jew. It won't be up as a few people, the tzaddikim who happen. Every single person will experience it, but Klal Yisrael, but also among the entire Klal Yisrael.
On the YouTube today.
Oh, on YouTube, yeah, very good. Yeah.
That's the Torah.
Very good, very good. It's not an after, it's not stam, you're doing something nice, I'll give you something in return. That is the moment Yafutzim Anasecha Chutza, that is the Pchin of the Geula. And that's the of Paraduma. So that's what the Medrash says. They're both Gadol. They're both Gadol Hashem Muhammad Lasi and Chayker. And you have to say they're both Gadol. It's not like you're telling a tzaddik, "Oh, Nebuch, you never sinned." Nebuch, like, right? That's not a Jewish idea. This is Gadol. This is Gadol. But you have to know what's more Gadol. What's pshat? It's more Gadol. It's like not a competition. More means here you're touching a Gadlus that's deeper than Hishtalshalos. This Gadlus, you have to surrender everything. Why do you have to know that? Because if you're a tzaddik, you have to know that you're going to have to do tshuva. So that's why you're carbon Pesach. You need to go with the paraduma. Don't let go of the paraduma. The Pesach needs the that's what the Medrash is trying to say. He's not trying to make competitions between mitzvahs and this is bigger and you're bigger and it's 2 queens. The 2 queens look identical. In other words, when you're looking at a tzaddik, don't underestimate. You're talking about somebody who's channeling the flow. That's the main avoid of a Jew. If something happened, you have the avoid of a Baal Tshuva. And that's where the similarities are amazing. But then you have to see that the Pesach ultimately needs the Paraduma. he can't let go of the paraduma. Like in the mashal. What's the mashal of the escort? What's the idea of the escort? That the one queen, right, will follow the second queen until the last minute. She understands that she can't separate from her. I mean, there comes a time she goes into her house. But there can be a moment that you separate from her. Don't walk without her. Why not walk without her? Well, the moment that tzaddik divorces himself from Baal Teshuvah, energetically, the moment that tzaddik says, I don't need to do teshuvah, I got this, God, I got this, is tzaddik. Yochanan Kohen Gadol. The moment you think you don't need paraduma, you don't need to burn down your tzir, that means you detached your tzir from the Maila Mitzir. Your tzir became a trap instead of a flow. And if your tzir, your form, your structure becomes a trap instead of a flow, now you need a whole new Torah. Now you need teshuvah. That's the issue.
Actually, it's interesting because al pi halacha, you can build, you can bring Korban Pesach problem Harabais today.
Yes.
Al pi halacha.
Yes.
But it needs para.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it,
Yeah.
because some people are trying to come.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen people
Yeah.
with a sheep on Erev.
Yeah.
Pesach and-
So the issue is like this, that many people say about Korban Pesach today, that since Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, meaning if most of the Kayanim and most of Klal Yisrael is Tameh, you're allowed to bring a Korban B'tumah.
Yeah.
It's a special heter. So B'meila, even without Paraduma, they say you can bring the Korban Pesach. There were attempts in history of people who wanted to bring a Korban Pesach, even though there was no Paraduma yet, and there's no...
That's halacha. That's interesting. That's the tzidkus.
Where? Yeah, the Tzvi Hirsch Kalisher. So Shlezen is a whole exchange of Shal Teshuvah Cham Sofer. It's a very big. It was really one of the Rishonim. Tosfos brings. No, there was one of the Rishonim who. There's a whole Sefer Kafta V'Ferach. He talks about it. They were very big people. Reb Chaim Kohen. Already the Rishonim who felt you could bring a carbon. They needed permission though. They needed permission, and the Rambam holds that you could be makriv all karbanas without a Beis Hamikdash. You don't need a Beis Hamikdash. You have to know. You have to know the place of the mizbeach and build the mizbeach, but you don't need a Beis Hamikdash. And if roiv of the olam is tamei, you can have koyanim do the hakrava and it's kosher, and you're allowed to do it because tumah hutra b'tzibur. If you're tamei on your own, then you have to wait for Pesach Sheni. But if tzibur, it's a tumah hutra. So b'meila, they tried to bring a Korban Pesach. Now here's an interesting thing, Stam, in terms of history. For most of history, it wasn't relevant because Jews didn't own it. In 1967, a month after Pesach, the end of Iyar, they liberated the Kosel Maravi and the Harabayas. Harabayit Biyadeno. So the next year, Tavshin Chavches, it became a serious shaila. So I want to tell you something interesting. Achron Shal Pesach, the next year, the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave us sikha. He didn't paskin things. He always said, I'm not a paisik. But that Fabrengen, he said that it seems to him that Lefi Alocha, the Veis the Maisa, yeah? Rav Zevin used to leave, I think, right? Yeah. So he said, Erev Pesach, if you're living within Tesvav Mil, 15 kilometers of Yerushalayim, you have to leave. You have to be B'derech Rechaika. Because if not, you have a chi of Korban Pesach, because it's under the government of Israel. Under the government of Israel. This was a huge thing. And Rav Zevin, who was one of the biggest Goyni Hadar, he wrote a whole letter to the Rebbe because he was a Yerushalayim Me'id. And there's like an exchange of 6-7 amazing letters between them. Yeah or not, yeah or not, yeah or not. And so a lot of people, Erev Pesach, they would leave. They would Erev Pesach and also Pesach Sheni. So they should be B'china of Derech Rechaika. Because they weren't Makar Korban Pesach. In 1975, I saw there's a letter from the Rebbe to Rav Zevin, and he says that unfortunately my whole idea doesn't apply anymore because the government of Israel has made so many mistakes, and they are now in such a ridiculous position that even if they want, they can't bring the Korban Pesach and the Harabayas. They surrendered everything, and therefore the whole union is not Sheicher, but it could stay in Yerushalayim. So it's from Tavshin Chavches to Tavshin Lamed Hey. Stam, it's very interesting. But I'll call upon him, Nachzil in Yanenu, so the Paraduma, if Tumah Hutra you don't need the Paraduma, but a general Korban Pesach, you need the Paraduma. So that's the idea that the tzaddik always has to remain linked to the second queen. The moment he stops escorting her, the moment the tzaddik looks at the Baal Teshuvah and says, thank God I'm not you, Ois tzaddik. That's the var. So the depth in the Medrash's mashal is very profound. Because you would think the mashal is a strange mashal. Maybe fakert. Maybe the para aduma is lower than the Karban Pesach because the Karban Pesach because the Karban Pesach is escorting it. Instead of saying the Karban Pesach is escorting it, maybe say the other way. The para aduma is escorting the Karban Pesach. You could do it the other way around, right? Say this queen is escorting this queen. The first queen is the Karban Pesach. The para aduma escorts her and lets her go alone. And then the para aduma goes home. But the Medrash says fakert. When we understand the ruchnius of it, it's very, very clear. The moment that tzaddik, the Baal Teshuvah never thinks that he can be alone. The Baal Teshuvah never thinks he can go back to himself. He knows that whatever he has on his own is all blemished. So he always has to go back to the place of tzur, to the place of ayin, to the place of complete bittul, beyond the shtalshalos. The tzaddik is the only one who actually made a beautiful world. So the tzaddik could say, I don't need you. I'm good without you. I shouldn't escort you. I'm supposed to be your gabbai. You're the Baal Teshuvah. I'm the tzaddik. I should be your gabbai. You should be my gabbai. The Baal Teshuvah becomes like, you see it practically. The Baal Teshuvah become gabbayim for tzaddikim. I never see tzaddikim becoming gabbayim for Baal Teshuvah. It's a pasnish. So this mashal in the Medrash is a very, very deep mashal. That this queen escorts her home and says, I will not let you walk alone. Wherever you are, like your Yeshua, we're never gonna. If Yeshua sees Moshe, he's gonna go. He's gonna latch on to the Baal Teshuvah, so to speak. What's the idea? That the tzaddik always knows that I always need the Baal Teshuvah. I always need that moment that in the kudah of bittul. Avada, my avoid is eish oichla. My avoid is not sur. My avoid is eish oichla. It's not avoid. It's not some mitzvah to sin. Echtav ashuv. You don't say that. But energetically, the tzaddik knows that the b'chin of teshuvah, the moment you disassociate from the inyan of teshuvah, then you're not in flow anymore, you create a trap, you create a disassociation, you disconnected the wires. And the moment you disconnected the wires, it's not even Eish Eichla. And that's why the Moshiach needs Baal Teshuvah. And Moshiach, Pnimi Yisrael, is the one that constantly reveals this inyan of bittul. Okay, everybody have a beautiful, beautiful day.
So the tzaddik can become comfortable in Eish.
Yeah.
So to the point that
Yeah. Yeah. The moment that tzaddik becomes comfortable in Eish Eichla, even though Eish, the whole inyan of Eish Eichla is the flow, but the moment energetically you take that away from the source, from tzur, it becomes an Egel Azav. And when it becomes an Egel Azav, you need a paraduma. And that's the idea of Yochanan, Kohen Gadol, the B'Seif Nas Tzduki. Another person wouldn't have become a Tzduki. Well, who are you? Wer bist du? You know, like the famous joke, who thinks he's a nobody? You know the joke, yeah? Yom Kippur, the people on the shul saying, Ich bin a garnished, ich bin a garnished, ich bin a garnished. So Yankel, you know, the garbage collector said, Ich bin euch a garnished. So the Rav says, Ich bin a garnished. To be a garnished, you have to be a pis. Yochanan Kohen Gadol looked at himself and he said, Psayid, Psayid. And that machshava, the moment that machshava sits in him, Sartem avadatam. So steht in Sfarim that the Baal Shem Tov's last words were Al Tivayeni Regel Gaiva. They say, it says in Sfarim, the Baal Shem Tov's last words was Al Tivayeni Regel Gaiva. Al Tivayeni Regel Gaiva says in Kabbalah, so Shetevus Esrig. Esrig is Al Tivayeni Regel Gaiva. So the Rebbe once said, why the Esrig? He says, the Hadas and the Arav never has an issue with Gaiva. They always tell him you don't have a smell, you don't have a taste. The Hadas, they tell him you smell horribly. The lulav, you have a good taste. The esrog gives a cook and says, Psst, give a cook. Am I in a good esrog or not? Especially if it's a good esrog. So the esrog is ultimately regel gaiva. One says from the Rebbe of what he said like this: a shiny Rabbi, we only celebrate with the Arava, right? Why not the esrog, the lulav, the hadas? How did the Arava become the Groisa Meyuchas on a shiny Rabbi? Not only that, it says in Gemara that a shiny Rabbi is not chol b'Shabbos because they never wanted a situation that you shouldn't clap a shyness on Shabbos. So it's a pella. The first day of Sukkot, so mitzvah min ha-Torah to shake lulav could be on Shabbos and you don't shake esrog. A shiny Rabbi, which is not midday raisa, it's a minig neviim. The Rambam says it's not midday raisa, and that can. So he said like this: that the reason the Daled Minim were chosen is because of achdus. Each one has a quality of achdus. Esrog stays on the tree for a few years; it endures all the climates. Lulav is kapis tamarim, all the branches are connected to the spine. Hadas, three leaves, three twigs come out from Tlasa B'chadkin, come out from one source. And Arav is Gedelin Ba'achava. The bushes grow up together, they're intertwined with each other. They grow up in brotherhood, like a tight tribe. That's what it says. So it says, and Alter Rebbe says that these Daled Minim were chosen because we live in a physical world of egocentricity. And wherever you see Achdus in the world, it means there's a Gili of Elikus, because he's Achdus, Hashem Echad. So since in these Daled Minim you see Achdus, so Mela, this is where they were chosen. So he says, the only one who knows that energetically, that he was chosen because of Achdus, is the Arava. The Esrik thinks he was chosen because he has a Tam and a Reach. The Hadas and the Lulav, they think they were chosen because of their own identity. The Arava knows the Emes. So Mela, the Arava remains completely loyal to its true essence. He never gets confused. The other ones can get confused. And so Yeshane Rabbe, that's what you make clear. So Mela, this is the same inyan, you understand? That when the tzaddik starts forgetting this inyan in the tzaddik, so then he loses touch. Yeah.
So it looks like Hoshana Rabbi is related to the Teshuvah Tata, not Ilah, because it's not on Shabbos. It's not on Shabbos.
It's not Chol B'Shabbos.
It's not on Shabbos.
I hear.
But that's a prerequisite to real Teshuvah, to do on Shabbos.
Yeah.
It's probably the real Teshuvah to come from your own.
So Teshuvah Tata comes before Teshuvah Elah, but once a person comes to Teshuvah Elah, the whole Teshuvah Tata is also different. So it says that sometimes there's a b'china, you go straight to Teshuvah Elah, and then from there you go to Teshuvah Tata. Now, you can't cut off the two Teshuvahs, but the question is, sometimes you start with Teshuvah Elah, and then from there you come back to Teshuvah Tata.
So what you mentioned earlier, that in recent years people think they take a shortcut. In a certain sense, maybe it helps you for a certain awareness that you could come back and start the actual.
I wasn't talking about that shortcut. I'm not talking about a shortcut that people who don't know about healing call it a shortcut because they don't know. I'm talking about a shortcut in people's daily lives. They think that they find a God, they find some form of God, they find some form of healing, and they attach to it, and they don't realize that you need daily work.
That's the deception.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. You need daily work of working on yourself and challenging yourself and dealing with your coping mechanisms. That's what I meant. Huh? Okay, everybody have a beautiful day. Tomorrow is Tuesday, so we have a shir for women. We're actually doing it in a new location if any one of your wives come. The shir for women is in a new location. It's in the barn, 84 Viola Road. It's not going to be here anymore, yeah. There's a shul over there, 84 Viola Road, 9:30 Tuesday. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will learn again on Thursday morning. We'll do a Pesach Maimer. Okay.